But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
With a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0.
Okay. Well, all right. The bad news is I forgot the most important part. So I could start over or try and play them from YouTube. Okay, anyway, let's just go. Let's just do this. Sorry about all that. Sorry about the big to-do here. I forgot how to put a show together, and it's been too long, so I need to get back to this. So we'll get back to this week, maybe Thursday, and then we'll kind of get back to full-time here. Sorry about that. Sorry about making everybody wait, and welcome to Troubled Minds. My name's Michael Strange. Don't mind my kid and play hairdo, and we're gonna just get right into this because it's weird to see what is all this, like these little things that are popping up all over my damn screen. Okay, anyway, so tonight I planned on playing a bunch of clips from Joseph Campbell. Okay, and as usual, the way we do this show is we look at the world in a different way. That's exactly the point of doing this, is to consider what we haven't considered and to look at the past and use it to inform the future, not just for, let's say, society at large in a conversation, but of course for ourselves personally. And one of my, again, modern heroes here that I've learned about as part of doing Troubled Minds, that I've learned a little bit more deeply, is of course Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, the hero with 1,000 faces, and that whole thing, which is incredible to me because it's a way of looking at the past and deriving literally everything from it. And we can spot these cycles that I'm always talking about. We can spot all manner of things because when you start to consider what it means to be human, it is very cyclical. It is, we're born, we die, right? And everything that kind of comes in between there is, wide open, of course, but it's also based in these cycles that have been around since the dawn of time. And so that to me is highly fascinating, and that's what's on my mind tonight. We'll get to the rest of that as we go. Sorry to make everybody wait. Like I said, having some problems here putting everything together and some software updates at the last second. This damn road board just was like, update your software. And I'm like, no, don't update the software. Anyway, okay, so as usual, no truth to be found here. We're just talking ideas and kicking around the cosmic soccer ball, as I like to say. So if you're here for truth, you're in the wrong place. There's no truth here. It's just ideas. It's just wondering about, as I described, the things that we maybe have missed. And that's exactly the point of doing this and talking to each other. And really where we should be. And to honor that, we are taking your calls, of course, at 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. And easy peasy. Thanks again for understanding. I'm going to try and fix this as we go. If not, let's see if I can just play these clips. If I can just play this clip straight from the thing. Let me know if you guys hear this in all the places, because this might not play through. Otherwise, we'll just do it sort of the way everybody else does it, sort of old school. But let me play this and see if it comes through. Of course not. Let's unmute the sites.
Well, the ancient myths.
Okay, it's coming through to the stream. Can you guys hear it on Discord? Let me know. Okay, here. Okay, sweet. Okay, so we're going to be able to do this the ghetto way, which, I mean, pardon my vernacular, but we're going to have to do it. I had the clips all perfectly set up, but I'll have to shut everything down and put them in. And anyway, all right, so we'll do this the old school way here. And before that, we're going to take a break and get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that is Human Inspiration, which is very pertinent for tonight because we are talking about not just a hero's journey, Joseph Campbell and all the rest, but of course that all derives from Human Inspiration. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way in exactly 1 minute. Don't go anywhere. See you on the other side of a quick 1 minute break. And we will go a little long tonight if we have to, if you guys are interested in calling and talking about these ideas. But be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Do not go anywhere. In a world increasingly shaped by AI, human inspiration remains the beating heart of creativity. Alien Skin by Tremble, a hauntingly beautiful piano ballad, reminds us that while algorithms can mimic art, the raw, unfiltered emotions of human experience are irreplaceable. So here I sit, locked in my room again. Written and composed by Jesse Ian in collaboration with Todd Smith, this progressive masterpiece delves into the depths of internalized grief and the silent toll of artistic compromise. As AI reshapes our reality, Alien Skin stands as a testament to the timeless power of human emotion and the complex beauty that only true artists can evoke. Experience the haunting beauty of Alien Skin by Tremble and support human inspiration. Available now on iTunes. Okay, to get us back on time for the radio clock, I'll take a break at the bottom of the hour. We'll come back and then get us back on track here. Sorry again for starting late. We got James on deck. We're going to talk to him momentarily. But I want to preface this entire thing with that idea of the hero's journey, because I've thought about this a lot in terms of what it means. Not just, let's say, we can learn from the past, right? But if we can't do anything about it, then what are we doing? We're sort of spinning our wheels. And in that particular case, I was back to the well, back to, well, what did Joseph Campbell say about these things? And there's a particular a bit here. So we're it's gonna be a three span conversation here. And as usual, I'd rather hear from you. We can make this a two-parter if you guys are interested. But living in accord with nature, the hidden dimension, and follow your bliss are the three things that kind of led me back to, well, this makes a ton of sense to me. But you guys, of course, are always my sounding board, so it doesn't make a ton of sense to you. And that is really what this looks like. And I'm talking the future's hero and, of course, our own personal journey. And that's that. So I'll play a little bit of this. We'll take a break, and then we'll talk to James and play some more of these clips. But I'm just going to play this because that's the best way to do it. And here we go. This is straight in the words of Joseph Campbell. If you have seen this series on YouTube, I highly recommend it. The links will be in the description after we start here, or after we finish here. But anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds, go.
What do you think our souls owe to ancient myths?
Well, the ancient myths were designed to put the mind, the mental system, into accord with this body system, with this inheritance of the body, to harmonize. The mind can ramble off in strange ways and want things that the body does not want. And the myths and rites were a means to put the mind in accord with the body and the way of life in accord with the way that nature dictates.
So in a way, these old stories live in us.
They do indeed. And the stages of a human development are the same today as they were in the ancient times. And the problem of a child brought up in a world of discipline, of obedience, and of his dependency on others has to be transcended when one comes to maturity, so that you are living now not in dependency, but with self-responsible authority.
Sorry about that. I was trying to pause it, and I made him talk fast. But anyway, so that puts us where we need to start here. So living in accord with nature, and this is according to Joseph Campbell, a personal hero of mine, passed away now, rest in peace. But I think the guy was a genius. I think he was on to something, that mythic thread that exists within all of us. And if we can't find it ourselves, I think we have what's happening in 2025. I think we have what's happening in the modern time with the acceleration of technology and how we become more and more detached, specifically and directly, from nature itself. So we'll hear more from Joseph Campbell when we come back again. These links will be in the description. I encourage you to consume whatever you can of Joseph Campbell. Read his books. Go check out the YouTube channel. Follow the it's actually called the Joseph Campbell Foundation. Go support them in all the ways, because they've got a ton of this guy speaking, and it's just incredible stuff to me. Anyway, so that puts us where we need to be. Thanks for understanding my weird foible, not remembering how to put a show together. But that's where we're at. If you want to be part of the conversation, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. James coming up next, and your calls as well. What do you know about it? What is the secret to returning to the roots of where we came from? And is it possible to hold on to those ideas in 2025? This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More after the break. Don't go anywhere.
In shadows I roam through the streets at night, where whispered dreams dwell in the city lights. They call me a hero, but I'm just afraid. Save me now in this endless fight, becoming my own in the fading light. With every heartbeat, I chase through the dark, reclaiming my strength, igniting a spark. In a world so cold, I rise from the fall. Who will save me now? In this endless fight, becoming my own. In the fading light, so watch me ascend. From ashes I soar, a mythic journey. I'm finally more. Who will save me now? In this endless fight, becoming my own. In the fading light.
Better than most. What's up, guys? I hope you're all well tonight. What's up, Sonia, Hirsch, Dawn, Sweets, Daryl? What's up, Molly? We got Ray K. What's up, Joe, JJ, Roving Fungus, Michael W, Akashic, Chef Pete. What's up, APOC, Gaston, and who is that? That is Ricky. Ricky changing his. You change your profile photo and you guys screw me up. Just FYI. And James coming up next. We'll talk to James momentarily. If I miss you guys in the chat right now, I will circle back around and try and say hi. What's up? YY gets first. Gordo is here. Good evening, guys. Hello, hello. We got that's Hiker Foggy. How you doing? Welcome back. Hello, hello. Let's see. Scroll. Lots of chat over there on Rumble already. Thanks, guys, for being cool and chill to each other. Gordo is here. Ricky, anything is possible. I see you guys. Okay. Yeah, definitely alternative, maybe 80s vibe on that one. Yeah, okay, so we got, what's up, Akashic? I see you there, Chef Pete. If I missed anybody, like I said, sorry about that. I will circle back around and say hi momentarily. Let's go to YouTube real quick. Mr. Mission Control got first over there. What's up, Shane, the Blind Psychonaut, Unseen Steve McQueen, Ari the Cat. Good evening, guys. Hello, hello. James is there as well. If I miss anybody, Eli, how are you? If I miss anybody, I'll catch you when we get back. Got some news coming up as well, and more with Joseph Campbell, some of these clips, which are incredible. And again, living in accord with nature is where we start. We'll talk to James and play some more from Joseph Campbell. And of course, love to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Is it possible to really live in accord with nature in the aspect of where we came from in 2025? I think it's slipping. And I think we can, except, of course, if we're not thinking about it, then we never will have a chance to do it. And that's really the point of these conversations. What's up, Dragon Rose? I see you there. Here we go. Trouble Minds happening right now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, and of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking the future's hero, a personal journey. Talking Joseph Campbell, one of my favorites. So what if 2025 marks humanity's greatest convergence, where AI spontaneously generates sacred geometry, robots meditate, and digital oracles channel wisdom beyond their code? Is there a way back from this? And looking into the living in accord with nature is where we're at. More from Joseph Campbell coming up. Going to play some more clips from him. But of course, let's go to James first. Thanks for being patient, my man. You're on Troubled Minds. How you doing tonight? Welcome to the thing, and go right ahead.
I'm okay. Hopefully you can hear me all right.
Yes, sir. Speak up just a little bit. I'll crank you up. Go right ahead. You're on Troubled Minds. What do you got for us tonight? There's a ton here, and you're welcome to stay, of course. So we'll talk about this as we go. But what were your first thoughts? I gave James a heads up and sent him the clips yesterday, so we could kind of get ahead of it a little bit. But what is your first thought on Joseph Campbell, or whatever you got? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there to talk about. I feel like I could listen to at least those first couple of clips. The last one that you shared with me, the one about bliss, it's funny because it seems fairly obvious to me in a way, because I think maybe because I've finally found my bliss of what I'm supposed to be doing overall. But the first two clips, I feel like I could listen to them over and over again and still not quite get them completely. I don't know if I'm sure you probably had that before too with some of his other clips and things.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy, and he's taken this massive base of information, and he's kind of trying to synthesize it into a conversation. And as you know, when we do this together, it's really hard because I'll come with a ton of information, and you got 10 threads in your head at the same time, but choosing sort of the right one that makes the most sense in the moment is a difficult skill. It's something that takes years and years of practice. And he was a teacher. He's an academic, of course, but I'm not sure he was sort of a professional speaker of sorts. But it's hard to not get lost in the sauce when you talk about such wide and wild concepts as Joseph Campbell certainly did. But I feel you 100% on that.
Yeah, I almost thought about listening to those first two clips again today, but I thought, you know what? I know I'll hear him during the show, and it'll be fine. It'll be as good as it will be, basically, in my mind. The first one, when it talks about nature, that's the one you already played so far, I believe. That first one.
Yeah, I played just a little bit of that, about a minute of it. I'll play some more as soon as you're done here.
Okay, it took me a minute because at first, it took me a minute to get into it, because to me, whenever I hear get back to nature or get into nature, I automatically think of sort of like a worst case scenario where computer technology goes away. And I'm very much against that. So I have my own bias, my own concerns when it comes to these things. So I think I had to sort of just listen and set that aside and realize he probably does not mean the complete removal of all technology. So once I did, it was more interesting once I kind of got rid of that knee-jerk reaction on my part.
Yeah, well, and that's what this is all about. It's sort of breaking down our own dogma cycles, as I like to call them, our own biases that come as part of these ideas, right? That's the whole point. Kind of set it aside and hear it for what it is, and kind of let it marinate and let it stew and let it do its thing. And then if it moves you, cool. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There might be a time in the future where it does move you a little bit differently. So yeah, absolutely. What else you got? Go ahead.
Well, and I mean, it was interesting. I did like it. I think nature can be a lot of things to a lot of people. Yes, there is the physical nature, the environment around us. But I wonder too if nature isn't sort of our own ways of doing things, and through the ages, through ancestors, through families, our own sort of patterns, or our own systems of doing things as we, I don't know, I guess we are born, and we are sort of find out what our families are about, if we are lucky enough to be able to do that. Either way, find out what people around us are about, and all those things. I wonder if that is also part of nature, because I feel like I'm at the point now where I try to keep busy with what I do, and sometimes I can't, because my eyes are legally blind. They just will not allow it. And I figured out what was bothering me about that, and it was that my family are all very much, they work. They're always doing things. And so it bugged me when I couldn't. And that's the way my family was, and that was natural for them, it seems. And so that's kind of what that first clip reminded me of, is just nature in all kinds of meanings.
Yeah, definitely. As usual, when we talk about these ideas, you kind of look at the fractal of it, and the conversation, of course, is just a start. And all these things are going to mean something different to you than they do to me, and vice versa, and everybody else out there. That's the whole point of doing this. But yeah, you're spot on about that. Hang tight. Going to play just another more minute of this, and then we'll get back and get your commentary. We're taking your calls tonight, guys. I'm calling this the future's hero, which of course is you. A personal journey, and how do you synthesize Joseph Campbell and the hero with 1,000 faces? And really take that idea and put it in your back pocket and carry that around every day with you. That's what's on my mind tonight as we roll through this. And this is, again, a clip from YouTube, Living in Accord with Nature, and it is from the Joseph Campbell Foundation. Here we go, part 2 of this. And like I said, he's a very smart guy. Listen to the way he phrases things, and he's trying to draw from the historical aspect of his massive knowledge of mythology. So here we go, part 2. Check this out.
And the problem of the transition from childhood to maturity, and then from maturity and full capacity to losing those powers and acquiescing in the natural course of, you might say, the autumn time of life and the passage away. Myths are there to help us go with it, accept nature's way, and not hold to something else.
The stories are sort of, to me, like messages in a bottle from shores someone else has visited first.
Yes, and you're visiting those shores now.
And these myths tell me how others have made the passage and how I can make the passage.
And also what the beauties are of the way. I feel this now, moving into my own last years, the myths help me to go with it.
What kind of myth? Give me a one that has actually helped you.
Well, the tradition in India, for instance, of actually changing your whole way of dress, even changing your name as you pass from one stage to another. When I retired from teaching, I knew that I had to create a new life, a new way of life, and I changed my manner of thinking about my life.
Okay, perfect. That puts us where we need to be. Now this hit me hard because my name, of course, is not really Michael Strange. I changed my name as I learned about things that I was massively interested in, finding my bliss as part of that hero's journey, which we'll get to as we go through some of these clips. If you're just joining us, this is, again, clips from Joseph Campbell, again, a hero of mine, and he's the guy who synthesized the monomyth, going through all the ancient mythologies and kind of trying to describe to us that these are stories we need. Not just we need, stories that are essential to what it means to be human. And changing your name, changing your style of dress, changing all of those things as part of your growth aspect is sort of like turning a corner, right? It's sort of like, like I shout out Herschel, Herschel Sterling, when we did the baseball show together, I asked him, do you think if we hadn't, sort of changed our names in that regard, me being Michael Strange, you being Herschel Sterling, would we have ever met? And the answer was sadly, maybe not, probably not, because it sort of emboldened us, or at least it was part of that journey we were taking as creatives, as people who wanted to understand a little more deeply what was happening in the world around us. And so changing the way you dress, maybe I'll start wearing a suit these days and like a top hat or something. I don't know. Like I really haven't done that. I still dress like a teenager, which is embarrassing, but whatever. I mean, maybe we'll get to that part, but certainly the changing your name aspect of it was something that kind of hit me hard as going through these stages of life and seeing yourself differently and challenging the way you used to think. And that's really what Troubled Minds has always been about. James, anything on that? We'll play some more. Thanks for being patient, my man.
Oh, no problem. And yeah, happy to sit in. That also just reminded me of changing things in general. It's funny because, of course, you and others here in the show affectionately call me the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. And I don't like that word expert, but also I've come to realize that I've changed a lot in doing what I do with my own podcast, but also just the research that goes into that. And in talking about that so much, I've realized that whether I like it or not, people are going to look to me in many cases for information. And I'm still not the most comfortable with that, but I'm better than I was when I first started. I feel like a little bit less nervous about sharing what I've found and what I not that I know anything, but the patterns I've found and what I can say based on those patterns.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, I don't know, I call you an expert because I know it bothers you, but because you're my bro and I'm razzing you, but certainly like you spend enough time sort of reading about a particular thing and you do turn that corner and sort of become that expert in the space anyway, whether you like it or not. And so it is, you synthesize a ton of information, like I said before, if you guys are not following James, you should, salsidoparanormal.com, go check all this stuff out. That's SALSIDO Paranormal. And he's literally got hundreds and hundreds of episodes talking about sort of the old tropes, also granular aspects of what the paranormal is, and other things, book reviews in the same space. And I like to call it, because I think it really is. If I'm wrong here, let us know, because I think it is probably the single most comprehensive paranormal space on the entire internet. And so in that capacity, right, like, maybe I'm wrong and maybe there's a couple others that have been at it for 30 years or something, but still, like, there's a ton of information there. And so hell yeah, you're an expert, man. I just won't call you that because I know it kind of wrangles you a little bit. But yeah, what else you got? Go ahead on In Accordance with Nature, and maybe changing the names, or I'll play some more from Joseph Campbell here.
Well, it is funny because, I going back to podcast stuff, I originally I was going to go with one name that involved the word darkness, because I had some couple of nonfiction books I put out years ago, and the title it had was basically the darkness rises, and I started thinking, well, I'll make a podcast with that as a title. Then I did a basic search online for podcasts and names of paranormal podcasts, and discovered that darkness was pretty much already taken for a podcast name with that involved the paranormal. So it's just sometimes you have to change. I think in a lot of ways, and whether it's as simple as a title for a project, or even in some cases your way of thinking. Definitely, a lot of cases, it seems like over time, just throughout the course of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is exactly what we're talking about here. The change. Those changes are important, because we could just kind of have them blow by and not really reconcile it and change with it, sort of accept the change, as Mr. Campbell here is saying. But if we sort of buck against those trends, those changing cycles that are inherent to being human, then we have a problem. And I don't think he quite gets to that in this particular clip here, but he hints at it, that we need to kind of go with this stuff, because it is literally the ancient way of the human cycle. And so, yeah, this stuff is really important. And like I said, a very, very poignant person, in my opinion, and a hero of mine, Joseph Campbell, just because I think we're missing the next step. It went Carl Jung, Joseph Campbell, and then what? And what does that look like in 2025? And that's the conversation for tonight. Hang tight, James. Get back to you in just a moment. Let's hear some more. Mr. Campbell.
Just in terms of that notion of moving out of the sphere of achievement into the sphere of enjoyment and appreciation, and relaxing into the wonder of it all.
And then there is that final passage through the dark gate.
Well, that's no problem at all. The problem in middle life, when the body has reached its climax of power and begins to lose it, is to identify yourself, not with the body which is falling away, but with the consciousness of which it is a vehicle. And when you can do that, and this is something I learned from my myths, what am I? Am I the bulb that carries the light, or am I the light of which the bulb is a vehicle? And this body is a vehicle of consciousness. And if you can identify with the consciousness, you can watch this thing go like an old car. There goes the fender. There goes this. But it's expectable.
I love that. And yes, exactly. I know most of our demographic here is the much the one everybody wants. The 28 to 55 demographic is basically our core audience here. And so we're kind of in that space demographically together, where you wake up one day and your ankle hurts for no damn good reason. And you're like, man, I used to make fun of mom for getting old or whatever. And now suddenly these things start to happen to you. The fender falls off the car or whatever, as he says. But these things are expectable as usual. And we don't think about them until it's upon us. As usual with humans and the way we think about the world is that, in our youth, we have this sort of illusion that we will live forever or persist beyond sort of the human space because, dare we, suggest that we're lucky enough to live to 80 or 85 years or whatever, the longer of a human lifespan, then still that seems forever away. But then, if you guys are a little bit older, a long of tooth, as I like to call myself, then suddenly it sneaks up on you and you're like, damn, where did 30 years go? And it's here in a blink. It's pretty wild stuff. I got one more little bit here. It's about a minute left from this clip. But again, these clips will be in the description down below, along with the rest of the Joseph Campbell Foundation stuff. Very, very poignant to me. Very on the game of where we should be with our minds, in our mind space. And if we don't bring these ideas back, I fear we have an issue when it comes to sort of synthesizing the acceleration, as I always talk about, the AI space, robots, consciousness, sort of redefining and realigning what these things mean to humans in 2025. Anything on any of that, James? And I'll play the other clip here in just a second. Welcome back. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it came to me when I was listening to that it's amazing how he's referencing the whole process, not just of the physical existence, but also what is before or after, without really giving it any kind of labels. And I think, there's a lot of people out there that they will use the different labels, but there's a lot of people in the world that seem to feel or believe, or in some cases, based on experiences, know that there is something in that before and that after, in that space where we're not exclusively physically here. And so I found that little tie into, you could say, the paranormal fascinating as well, because I do wonder with that, is that sort of other level of reality, the way it tries to reach out to people in different situations, are some of those contacts being made to get points across to people about their lives? And you hear so much about that. I had this weird experience, and it turned out to be really important because it reminded me of something that I had forgotten that was important to me, or just any number of situations, but so many cases where paranormal and or anomalous events change people's lives for the better in a lot of cases. And there's some rare ones where it's for the worse, but there are plenty of them out there where it is for the better.
Yeah, exactly. And he does get into, so the hidden dimension is what we'll do next after we come back from the break. And a lot of what James is describing there is also covered in that clip, that paranormal, that sense of awe, that recognizing that we are living in a space that you can quantify and you can count the beans of and all the things. However, there's this reverence about the cosmos and the space that we cannot quantify. And if we don't recognize it and sort of give it that reverence, then once again, as I like to say, we're doing it wrong. And so that's, again, a bad paraphrase of what he's describing here. But again, we're listening to some clips from Joseph Campbell talking about, I'm calling this the future's hero, which of course is just you. It's simply me. It's you. It's what it means to be human. And these cycles we all go through together as part of just growth. And, the old... getting old, right? Getting old becomes, you're at you will be at your peak one time. Whatever that means, however you count those beans and quantify that. Look, I don't know. I still feel like I'm not at my peak, but what does that mean? The world will tell you, right? And so I don't know. I don't know if that's years from now or if it was 5 years ago. I mean, maybe that's a depressing thought. But in any case, let history decide these types of things and don't kind of get caught up in them, or else you'll be doing yourself a massive disservice. Back to Joseph Campbell. Thanks, James, for being patient here. And we got Joe on the line. We'll talk to him when we get back as well. More from James and your calls. But here we go. That last little bit here from, again, Joseph Campbell, living in accord with nature. Again, courtesy of the Joseph Campbell Foundation. Please give them a follow on YouTube. The links will be in the description. Here we go.
And then gradually the whole thing drops off and consciousness rejoins consciousness. I mean, it's no longer in this particular environment.
And the myths, the stories have brought this consciousness.
Well, I live with these myths, and they tell me to do this all the time. And this is the problem, which can be then metaphorically understood as identifying with the Christ in you. And the Christ in you doesn't die. The Christ in you survives death and resurrects. Or it can be with Shiva. Shiva Hung, I am Shiva. And this is the great meditation of the yogis in the Himalayas. And one doesn't have even to have a metaphorical image like that if one has a mind that's willing to just relax and identify itself with that which moves it.
Indeed. Identify with that which moves it, which is the whole point here, basically. We'll get to, at the end of this, the follow your bliss aspect. But basically, look, the reason I'm here, I'll tell you the follow my bliss that led me to troubled minds, okay? That led me to talk about these wild and crazy ideas is because when I was very young, I've told the story maybe 3 or 4 times on the show ever, but I was in elementary school in California, and we were lucky enough to have a very old woman. She was probably 80 years old. And she, when you're like 8, everybody seems like they're ancient, but she seemed like she was ancient. And every Friday, we would all go into the library. They'd take all the classes in elementary school, and they would bring us all in the library. We'd all sit down, with our legs crossed and just on the floor and listen. And this woman would come in and she would read us these ancient myths. She would literally just read them in the most amazing way you could ever dream of, because of course she lived this. She knew the experience of these things and was trying to embed that in us for us to carry on. And so that was one of my formative experiences when it came to this, that sort of calling of, well, okay, there's a ton here to talk about. There's a ton here to consider. And how do you synthesize it? We talk about aliens and we talk about the paranormal. We talk about all kinds of stuff on this show, conspiracies and everything else. However, those are archetypes. Those are Carl Jung. Those are Joseph Campbell. Those are dogma cycles or human cycles of everything. And so in that particular space, when you hear the calling or the hero's journey or the rest of that, and if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. That's what this is. I am still drawn to this space, to these ideas, to these conversations with all you amazing people out there because of that formative experience when I was very young. I was like 8 years old. And it was the highlight of my week to go in there and sit for an hour in the library and listen to this woman read us the ancient Greek poetry, the ancient Greek mythology. And I'm hoping to carry that torch forward and do our part for that next generation as well, because it's to me, like I said, it's personal. This is a personal thing that when I finally found Joseph Campbell as part of this troubled minds journey, and shamefully they didn't teach it in high school at all and barely touched on it when I was in college. And so it's like, wait a minute now. To me, this is one of the most important things we could probably consider in how we move from one space to the next, from one era of our individual lives, but also one era of a changing zeitgeist into the next. And we don't talk about this at all. We barely even consider these ideas because of the cascade of the 24-hour news cycle, the matrix reign per se, right? It drives me nuts. And so as usual, the reason I'm here and the reason why these conversations are mostly apolitical as much as possible is because that's their narrative. That's what they want to talk about. Let me tell you what, this is what I want to think about, and this is what I want to talk about. So thank you for being here as part of this. Thank you for sharing the journey with me. Anything to add on that, James? About a minute left, and then we'll take a break and come back, talk to Joe, and more from James and your calls as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to sit in. I will and we've had this discussion before. I will not push back against you, but say that I don't consider the paranormal or experiences so much just a human thing, but also that it is part of it. But also, I think stories are in general just being repressed now. The idea of stories, longer stories, not just the short videos that are online now, are being repressed in a lot of ways and ignored. But when there's so much you can learn from them, I think that's the reason why they're being repressed. because you can learn from them so many things.
Exactly right. The censorship of the ancient ways, and that's certainly a thing. I agree with you 100% on that. And what does it mean? As usual, right? If we can't hear this stuff and notice it ourselves and talk about it, we're doing ourselves a disservice, as I always like to say. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We got Joe in Florida coming up. More from James and your call as well. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way.
Let's check the news. Earth's magnetic field dramatically flipped roughly 41,000 years ago. Now you can actually hear this epic upheaval thanks to a clever interpretation of information collected by the European Space Agency's Swarm satellite mission. Combining the satellite data with evidence of magnetic field line movements on Earth, geoscientists mapped the Lachamps event and represented it using natural noises like the creaking of wood and the crashing of colliding rocks. The result, unveiled in 2024 by the Technical University of Denmark and the German Research Center for Geosciences, is an eerie, otherworldly audio track unlike anything you've heard before. Generated by the swirling liquid metals in our planet's core, Earth's magnetic field reaches tens to hundreds of kilometers into space, protecting us all by deflecting atmosphere-stripping solar particles. Related, sound of Earth's flipping magnetic field haunts again from 780,000 years ago. As the iron and nickel inside our planet shift, so does Earth's magnetic field, meaning the North and South poles are also constantly on the move. Recently, the position of the magnetic North Pole was officially changed as it continues its shift away from Canada and towards Siberia. In its current orientation, the magnetic field lines form closed loops that are directed south to north above the planet's surface and then north to south deep within it. Yet, every so often, the field randomly flips its polarity. Were this to happen again today, our north-pointing compasses would point to the South Pole. The last such cataclysmic event occurred about 41,000 years ago, leaving a signature in the Lachamps lava flows in France. As the field weakened to only 5% of its current strength, the reversal process allowed a surplus of cosmic rays to pass into Earth's atmosphere. Ice and marine sediment preserve isotopic signatures of this higher-than-normal solar bombardment, with levels of beryllium-10 isotopes doubling during the Lachamps event, according to a study published last year.
Okay, I'll kill it there. It actually spit out a very long news thing, so we'll get back to that when we hit the bottom of the hour. I hope you guys are well tonight, just hanging out, doing what we do. What's up, Ricky Gaston? If I missed you guys in the chat, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Appreciate you being here and interested in the conversations. Yeah, I don't know. Per usual, I'm honest about why I'm here. This is nothing other than a hobby, a something that literally makes me less insane than I already am, because it is therapy. It is talking to people, regular people, about extraordinary things. And us losing our sense of wonder is one of the big tragedies of the modern era. And what was it? C.S. Lewis, I think he wrote a book, and it was Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, of course, but he wrote it for his niece. And by the time he wrote the intro to her, and by the time he finished writing it, he noted that by the time I'm done with this, you'll probably be too old to read fairy tales. But hopefully when you start reading them again, you'll appreciate this very much. And he nailed it right there, because we stop. At some point, we're just like, this stuff isn't real anymore. Don't believe in dragons. Don't believe in the paranormal. Don't believe in things that you can't see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears. And clearly, I think it's a mistake. I think it's as James described there, sort of maybe a larger psyop that kind of runs us out of the ancient wisdom, the wisdom of our ancestors. That which is again what brings me here. And thanks for hanging out with us, being part of this. We got Joe in Florida coming up, and your calls as well. Who did I miss over in the chat? If I missed anybody in all the places, Margie is here over on Rumble. I see you there. Good evening, guys. Hello. Appreciate all the nice chat, all the kind words about the show, and hanging out, and appreciate you guys a lot. Who did I miss? If I missed anybody in any of the chats, just say hi, and I'll say hi back. And how you doing? Angel Wings is here. Welcome back. It's been a minute. Glad to have you back. What's up? Koji Spiritual Dojo is here. Good evening, Mr. Mission Control. I see you over on YouTube. You guys are the best. Like I said, the only rule about being here, please, is just be nice to each other. We can disagree and still be friends, and that's exactly the point of this. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of it. More from James coming up. We got Joe in Florida and your calls as well in about 10 seconds. More Troubled Minds on the way. Who did I miss? Sweets. Hi, Sweets. I see you there. Joe in Florida coming up and your calls as well. Here we go. 5 seconds. Countdown. Oh, it gives me time to find the actual audio clip I'm supposed to play. All right, here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking Joseph Campbell, living in accordance with nature, the hidden dimension, and, of course, follow your bliss. And remember, the hero's journey need not be about slaying dragons, okay? Maybe metaphorical dragons, but it may not be about all of the things that we read in these ancient tales. It's about you. It's about me. It's about the modern day and how we synthesize it with the ways of the ancients, with the ways of our ancestors. So what does it mean to you when you talk about the hero's journey? And I'm calling it tonight the future's hero, a personal journey, because it is you. It is me. It is all of us together in this space, wondering what the hell is going on and how come none of it makes any amount of sense. That's the point. Here, we're listening to some clips from Joseph Campbell. Again, we started with living in accord with nature. And then, of course, we'll get to the hidden dimension in just a moment. We're here with James Salcido sitting in, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds. And, of course, taking your calls if you want to be part of the conversations. Anything to add, James? And we'll go to Joe in Florida. Thanks for being patient, friends.
Oh, just that what I was talking about with the stories being hidden or the importance of them being sort of undermined and even just not even necessarily with the length of videos. I mean, that or shows or stories, that is a thing too. But even just with the way that so many of them now they're designed not to tell much of a story. They're designed to make money, or they're designed to tell the story that people at the top of these companies think will make the most money. And that is not how stories started out. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I wasn't there, but I'm guessing it wasn't about making financial profit when people were telling, stories to each other about things that happened or things that they heard happened, myths, stories, all these things. I'm pretty sure financial mobility was not part of the original intention of those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, interestingly, I was talking to Mrs. Strange about Joseph Campbell last night and today a little bit too. And I brought up that exact point that recognize what happened. So George Lucas was heavily influenced by Joseph Campbell. He's cited as saying that he lost the plot in Star Wars and didn't know where to take it. And he was sort of lost in his own sauce because it didn't make sense, kind of crafting your own narratives. It's harder than it sounds. And then he found Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, the hero with 1,000 faces. And that basically allowed him to go back and say, okay, I've got these characters, I've got this backdrop, I've got all of this stuff, but then he started sort of incorporating these archetypes. The scoundrel of Han Solo, of course, the hero himself of the hero's journey would be Luke Skywalker. The marry your mother to kill your father, Oedipus complex type stuff with Darth Vader becoming the father. And so all of this bizarre stuff that seems kind of out of place in a space drama or a space opera is all based on the Joseph Campbell stuff, which to me, again, kind of punches you in the face when you think about how deep these stories are and how they resonate and why that one became one of the biggest stories ever told, right? In modern times anyway. But then also recognize what's happened recently with Disney, as you're describing. It's like they've lost the plot when it comes to at least breaking down some of these ideas of the hero with 1,000 faces. And they start telling these modern tales that are politically laced, that are, sort of gender based, that are all kinds of just this weird stuff that's like, I mean, look cool, right? But also, like, you still got to tell a good story. You can't just jam pack a Star Wars with a bunch of politics and expect us to be like, yeah. The Last Jedi, by the way, I was watching that in the theater, and I remember looking at my watch. It was like almost 2 hours in, and I'm like, is this freaking over yet? Like, that's not what you want when you get people watching a movie. They're like, like, I kind of got things to do, let's wrap this up, right? I mean, horrible. Anyway, a quick thought on that. We'll go to Joe.
Yeah, and it's like I described. At first, I was just of the short videos, but then I started realizing, just what you're talking about there with so many modern pieces of fiction, they don't have stories that everyone are interested in anymore, at least not as many people. And I think that's the results of the box office results, and all those things are probably showing that.
Amen. Exactly. Because people aren't interested, because the stories don't resonate with that ancient sort of sauce that's in us, right? Yeah. Get with it, Hollywood. Recognize where you're going wrong. And look, there's a lot of steps in the hero's journey. You can, three, a part 1, part 2, part 3, do sort of that. But there's like 13 steps of this, or 14. It's huge. It's massive cycle of things. And so you don't have to just follow everybody else's template. There's ways to kind of incorporate those ideas into larger stories, and they will resonate more. I'm telling you, I think it's just the truth. Prove me wrong. Come at me, bro. Just kidding. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to Joe in Florida. Thanks for being patient, my man. You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
I'm okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
So a while back in the beginning of one of your intros, I think you were trying to alienate some of us by calling us regular people. And I think I took offense to that. So,
okay, extraordinary people. I'm sorry. My bad.
I would think that we're extraordinary, and from what I'm reading right now, I think we're all dabbling in the absurd because life is absurd. Joseph Campbell, seen him here and there. The hero's journey, to me, it's basically do what you got to do to get yourself through the day. You did point it earlier, which is really good, because I wrote some notes. But yes, the made for extreme. I mean, back then, when you had time in the evening because there was no electricity, not much technology, we were able to tell stories, and maybe get us to bed, but also make us hope for a better future or a better day for tomorrow. It's a conversation that I had in my college class so long ago about what is hope and does it require faith and things like that. If I hear Campbell correctly, he's kind of leading into faith and things for the hero's journey. But it's difficult. It's difficult, and again, maybe the younger people in the audience, and maybe not even, because even my kids right now are deluded with, for lack of a better term, capitalism, late-stage capitalism. So I know that I've tried, and you try to be the hero, you try to work, you try to get a decent job, you want to help, you want to be productive, you want to get through your day. And when you reach an age, and Campbell was bringing that up, and I feel like I'm in there right now. I'm having a very hard time right now with the definition of life and big life and where it's going, and trying to keep things together and, dealing with mistakes that I've made and things like that. But when you stop, it's hard to stop when you have bills coming in and all of those things. And I think the younger generation, I'm just kind of throwing these thoughts out now, but I had some other notes, but I think the younger generation, I'll give you an example of those kids that were like kids in 2006 and 2007 who saw their parents lose their houses and everything. And to them, their parents were probably heroes, right? And then they lost everything. And those kids learned the lesson, right? And they learned the lesson probably that evil or cutting corners or being crappy is the way to get by. And that was, if you remember, the GameStop pump and a lot of other stocks that they pumped to steal from Wall Street. And you can look at that as like the Robin Hood. That just like pops into my head right now. I have a note for that. But, when you want to make sure you think of a hero, make sure they're the Robin Hood, if that makes sense.
It does. You know what's hilarious about that? And synchronistic is the modern day trading app is called Robinhood, by the way. The one everybody uses that they made the app for, which is funny.
That's true. That's definitely, I didn't think about that, you know. So, you know, who has time to explore the hero's journey? You know, I wanted to teach, and I did teach for a little bit. Wasn't paying the bills because I couldn't get full time, and I had some life changes going on. So I just went back to school, became a funeral director. Now, when I put that suit on in the morning tomorrow, so I'll be going to bed soon, I've got to be a hero for somebody else. You know, and part of me, I think this is different for people, because I think we run into different people that we look at people and we're like, they have no soul, or this person's a narcissist. We feel those things, and I know myself, I have very little, you know, my wife will beg to differ, but I have very little friends. I have acquaintances. I go play ice hockey on a Wednesday and talk some smack in the locker room and leave, you know. But when I DJ, which is maybe once a month, you know, I'll cover for somebody at the club, you know, I get along with the other DJs because we're all like-minded, but it's not like a day out. But I ended up being a funeral director, so, you know, we'll try to close that thought out. When I meet with people, I have to give them my genuine self, but I don't know, I always question, is that my genuine self? If I bump into somebody, I'm usually nice. I don't think I ever mean, you know, I've been told, I don't think I ever mean boning your body, but I have a pleasant interaction with people, and I try to put myself in their shoes. So dare I use the word, and not to start any, but dare I use the word empathy. Okay? And you understand what I'm saying?
I think I do.
But dare I use that? Dare I use that to be somebody else's hero, to get somebody else through the day, because they just lost a loved one, right? What they don't know is I just want to get home so I can take a little nap and enjoy my evening, you know, pitter-pattering around the backyard, or jumping on the bicycle, right? Or maybe watching reruns of Star Trek. So we got all of that. And Campbell, you know, he said the Christ inside of me and all that. And when I go to bed at night, sometimes if I say a prayer and I catch myself, I got to say, just try to be a Christ. Whether I believe Christ existed or not, it's still a tulpa. It's still something to aspire to put faith in. Okay? But, like you said earlier, I got a stress test this week. I got a heart test coming. I got all kinds of tests coming up. Right? So I've had this reality dose. We're all going to go through it. Maybe some younger, maybe some older. It's going to be different things. It could be a death. It could be a car accident, God forbid. And everybody makes it through. But I've been questioning myself for a long time now, probably about the last 10 months. And I'm reading, I just started reading The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus or Albert Camus. And I guess it's along the paradigms of cheerful nihilism. And I don't know if anybody in the crowd, I'm sure everybody knows what Sisyphus does. And I've only read a little bit of the book. I'm kind of getting in, but I've read some footnotes. But basically, in a life where we're looking for meaning, we're looking to be a hero. Life doesn't answer us back. And in the book, this guy basically says that's absurd. So how do you rebel against the absurdity? And he tries to rule out suicide. And he also tries to rule out religion as excuses. And to me, it almost seems like that's total realism. It's totally being a realist. Because Sisyphus, basically in the analogy they give, is he rolled the stone up and it always came back down. He had to do that for eternity. So, like I said, I just kind of read ahead with the notes, but I've been reading the book before I go to bed. You know, and they're just trying to enjoy it because I want to read some other things about cheerful nihilism. Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah.
Right? What's the point?
Albert Camus was one of the ones that I read when I was in high school. I was in the smart kids English class, so we were sort of like a year or two ahead of what everybody else was doing. And I just hated the stuff they made us read because it was, I mean, Camus was dark, right? But I had a friend, he's still a friend, shout out buddy, you know who you are. And we went to high school together, obviously, and he used to call me the stranger because he's like Mike, you're that guy that he's describing in the book. You're the stranger. I'm like, bro, stop. You're gonna make me cry. Stop it. But yeah, I'm very, very familiar with the nihilism of Albert Camus, 100%.
Yeah, you know, so I'm like reading, and here's the thing, I'm reading it now, and I'm like, well, I've lived my life this whole time. I've been aspiring to be a hero, right? Or aspiring to have a retirement or an IRA or this or that. But the reality of it is, I think, you know, we all make our separate choices. But the reality is right now, this part of my life, it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense that if I've got to roll that stone up tomorrow and it rolls back down, maybe I could smile a little bit. Maybe I could enjoy that absurdism. My wife wanted to drag me out to see a concert, at a concert in the park where I live. And I knew it was going to be all white hairs. And I'm there, and I have to make my terrible jokes. And I'm telling somebody that was with us, I'm like, I should give out my business cards to people who look like they're next. You know, because that's how I'm dealing with the absurd. I'm like, I like to go out. I'm 52. I'm like feeling I should grow up. I should, not that I dress any particular way. You know, if I go out to the golf club, I dress a little bit. I'm not naked. I don't do any of that. I just, you know, wear some cotton shirts, wear the combat boots, go out with, you know, with pants on and just go out and dance and have a good time. It's been so long since I've done that. Right? Because of what's going on in society, things that maybe I've done, all kinds of things. But I'm at this concert in the park, and everybody's got lawn chairs, and everybody's goddamn sitting down. And I'm like, where's the retirement home? And then the band plays the Killers, and I'm looking for my kid, right? And I want to dance. Nobody's there. And then the girl plays Flock of Seagulls. She goes, you know, she like played a Flock of Seagulls song. I ran, and they were playing everything. But they were playing 20 years out of their crowd. They probably still would have been, they probably still should have been playing 50s and 60s for the group that was there, right? For the group of nice voters that were there, basically for where I live. So she plays Flock of Seagulls. I'm literally like the only one dancing, and my wife came out of the bathroom, and I forced her to like dance with me out in this park. I mean, I didn't force her. She just was kind of wiggling around. Yeah, that sounds terrible. Like, yeah, you need to do it. But I'm like, come on. And I did it. And that was like my way to you just got to say screw it sometimes. And it's tough. It's hard. I got to look around me. You know, the weekends lately, I just spend at home. I don't want to interact. I don't want to go out. It's tough when you know, and then you look in the mirror and you say, I made some bad decisions. And let's say some heroes, the heroes out there made bad decisions and redeem in the arc of redemption. Whether you redeem yourself, you get forgiveness to yourself and try to emanate that. Like, that's funny you read that. I didn't read that in high school. You know, we read some things in college and things like that. And then, you know what pops into my head too right now is, I said it before, this is Davis in the future. And this goes back to what, oh God, hang on here. What we were saying about the shows and the hero's journeys and all the shows, and what basically James was saying about minutes and things, like things being short and being squashed out. I mean, it's true. It's true because they want to do it in favor of, and I'll go back to American gods, but they want to go back to the favor of new gods are going to be the tech gods. You know, and it's going to be belief in those things, in the algorithm, in Palantir, in things that are going to be watching us. Okay? And ask yourself this. Are those people they say never meet your heroes? Are all of those people that we thought were great? Okay? All the social media platforms, are any of those people acting like heroes right now? Any of them?
Not that I notice. They may think they're going through their own hero's journey arc, but I think they've got it backwards and they got it inverted, and they're doing sort of the villain arc instead.
Yeah, everybody wants MySpace back. That would have been easy, right? Everybody owns MySpace, So other things I look at is, I'll compare it to funeral directing again. I knew plenty of funeral directors, and I had to laugh this week. Forgive me, whatever is out there. But one of my district managers who screwed me over time and time again, and just whatever. He didn't have any kids. He was in it for all the money and stayed in it for the money and the power. And because he was the funeral director of Bel Air, he wanted to help his friends and not give them discounts or anything, that type of guy. And I remember getting written up and arguing with my boss and the district manager and saying, I don't expect you guys to understand you don't have kids. And they were going to write me up, and they said, well, you need to make a choice. And it was when my kid was really sick. It was during the time that I was first calling into your show when I found out my kid had Crohn's, my older kid.
I remember.
And,
I remember you called us from the hospital, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. I would wait for him to go to bed, and then I would go eat late because I felt bad because he couldn't eat. So he would go to sleep, and I would go down to the cafeteria. And that was kind of a neat experience because it'd be 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning, and I'd go down to the cafeteria, and I'd sit there in the corner and just watch the night shift. All the doctors and nurses just doing their things, buzzing along, and I was just there eating because I didn't want to eat in front of my kid, right? And I would call in. I had the big laptop that I got anyway. Come to find out that this boss, he's semi-retired. He wants to keep his feet in the company, but he's got dementia. And my friend that still works there, she told me, she goes, the other day, he couldn't even find the exit. And I laughed. And I don't even think I felt guilty about it. I laughed. And I could say shame on me, not shame on me. Anybody else there could say whatever, because I've got another friend of mine that he's going through with his mom. He called me. He's like, hey, man, he goes, I can't get help. My mom is bad. I don't want you to help me. I just want to know that you're going to be there at the end. And I'm like, way to call a friend. But friends do that. I have friends that call me out of the blue, and I'm like, this is not a good phone call. But for him, I have a little bit of compassion. And I was able to call hospice and get him help. And he's like, I don't know what you did. I said, well, I talk to hospice every day. So I got you help. And I got him help. And I felt good about that. I did the job because he was my friend. Because if a friend asks for help, you help him. But in one other loop, my old boss, when I got told this week he couldn't even find the exit out of the funeral home, I had a nice laugh. That was it.
I feel you.
Does that make me not a hero? Does that make me not a hero? Does that make me a terrible person?
No. I would just a reminder to, again, because we'll be there. One day we'll be there. To not sort of snicker at others' misfortune. So, and I get you though. I completely get you because this guy has done you wrong for forever. And look, I've got the type too. I've met people like this, which is why I checked out. By the way, I left corporate America entirely because I was not built for it. I was not built to lie, cheat, and steal to get to the top, and not care about what you were actually doing. And I left, and to my detriment, I could be wealthy or all the things, and I choose to be honest instead. And here I am doing troubled minds.
Yeah, it's definitely a double. Like my buddy tells me, he's like, dude, if we would have stayed in New York, the kids and us would probably be making, we'd be banking right now. It's like wasting. It's a bad word to say, but I feel like I've got wasted potential. But is it really wasted if we're making other people's lives better? If you've got a talk show on, if we're here to vent, if we're here to do these things, we could be out doing worse.
We could be out doing way worse. Way worse.
We could be out there doing way worse. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But maybe in the future, which is now, maybe the lie, maybe AI will give us time to get a little bit of, UBI and maybe have time to be a hero in our community. If that makes sense. Maybe it would have us ask ourselves, which we've forgotten, the things that I do now, is this for the public good? Okay? Not to lean into politics, but that's a question that nobody asks anymore.
We do.
Okay. we do here. The question should not be asked, is this for me to consolidate and maintain power? And that's going to go for both sides.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So,
we're at 30 seconds. Just about out of time.
Are we, the lives that we lead when we get out tomorrow, the lives that we lead, are we going to try to amend our mistakes and be a better person for the community, not for God, not for anything? Because if I was reading absurdism right, all we have is now. When we die, maybe we'll figure out the rest if there's something there, and then we take that journey then. But for now, we're here. This is the only time we have to make an impression.
Amen. And
for better or for worse.
Amen, brother. And time's running out. Time's running out. That's the thing. So let's remind ourselves to continue to do the best you can, because time is precious. And so for some of us, it's not just a blessing, but it's all we've got. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call. Have a great night.
Good night.
That's Joe in Florida, good friend for a long time. No joke. Met him years ago. He called from the hospital. His kid was sick, and he was listening to Troubled Minds. We were talking aliens. Be right back. We're talking the futurist hero tonight, a personal journey. Joseph Campbell, what the hell does it mean? More coming up from James and your calls as well. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way.
These altered atoms are formed when cosmic rays react with our atmosphere, ionizing the air and frying the ozone layer. With global climate change being a potential consequence, it's speculated the extinction of Australia's megafauna, as well as changes in human cave use, may have been associated with this event. Understanding these extreme events is important for their occurrence in the future, space climate predictions, and assessing the effects on the environment and on the Earth system, German Research Center for Geosciences geophysicist Sonja Panowska explained at the time. It took 250 years for the Lachamps reversal to take place, and it stayed in the unusual orientation for about 440 years. At most, Earth's magnetic field may have remained at 25% of its current strength as the north polarity drifted to the south. Recent magnetic field anomalies, like the weakening over the Atlantic Ocean, have led to questions about an impending reversal today. But recent research suggests these anomalies are not necessarily connected to flipping events. The South Atlantic anomaly is, however, exposing satellites in the area to higher levels of radiation. Since 2013, ESA's Swarm constellation has been measuring magnetic signals from Earth's core, mantle, crust, oceans, ionosphere, and magnetosphere, so we can better understand our planet's geomagnetic field and predict its fluctuations. An earlier version of this article was published in October 2024. The analysis of a million-year-old skull, Yunxian-2, discovered in China, suggests it may belong to Homo longi rather than Homo erectus. If confirmed, this finding could drastically alter our understanding of human evolution, suggesting Homo sapiens may have originated outside of Africa and that the split between modern humans, Neanderthals, and Denisovans occurred much earlier than previously believed, potentially doubling the estimated origin time of Homo sapiens. The study employed advanced reconstruction techniques, and while exciting, experts emphasized the need for additional fossil and genetic evidence to confirm these findings. Alex Davis, a father with terminal brain cancer, is donating his tears to a University of Manchester study exploring tear fluid as a means to detect glioblastoma earlier. The study, funded by Stand Up to Cancer, aims to develop a tear protein-based test that can differentiate brain cancer patients from healthy individuals, potentially leading to faster, cheaper, and less invasive diagnoses. Researchers hope that a successful test could be implemented in GP surgeries, enabling earlier diagnoses and improved outcomes for patients like Mr. Davis. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. My AI thing spurred out and actually did like a super long first part. So anyway, thanks for bearing with me there. You guys are the best. Thanks for the call, Joe. And thanks for everybody for considering the ideas. And yeah, wild stuff. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up, more from James, play a little bit more from Joseph Campbell, talking about the hidden dimension, which is probably the best part of this, I think, sort of part of that hero's journey, right? You got to cross the threshold to come back with some sort of understanding that is not of this world. And so, yeah, wild stuff. Here we go. go. Trouble Minds coming up in just a second here. If I missed anybody in the chat, sorry about that. Matt Tell, I see you there. Sweets. Joe, thanks for the call. Roving Fungus, Michael W. Be right back. Actually, we're back now. Sorry. See my program clicking in. Here we go. Trouble Minds. Meow. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, blah, blah, yada, yada, all the places, all the things. We're talking the future's hero tonight, a personal journey. One of my favorites, Joseph Campbell in The Hero's Journey, the hero with 1,000 faces. Now, playing some clips, living in accord with nature, the hidden dimension, and follow your bliss as part of this. And we got James with us tonight of Salcedo Paranormal, and we're just talking about these ideas and what they mean in 2025. Now, look, my calling is very easy. It's very simple. Like I said, I didn't want to be some corporate slumlord or something. I didn't want to be some bastard that just made money off of everybody else's misery. So instead, here I am, not making any money doing this because this is honest. This is a way to look at the world and wonder how we belong in it, if and when and where and why. We all have a place. And so, we all have to make those decisions on what we want to give up to, for what we can have. And clearly I've made mine. And that's one of the major reasons I'm here is as I described, I can't do corporate America. They can stuff it. And I'm not going to do that. I am not going to be part of systems that are as grotesque as they seem and that are very obvious to the rest of us. But fire stuff, I appreciate the call from Joe there. James, anything to add real quick? And then I'm going to play just 1 minute from Joseph Campbell to lead us in, and then we got Derek the Night Stalker coming up as well. James, you, and then we'll go to Derek in just a moment.
Yeah, great call from Joe. Great to hear from him. And it's I think his call reminded me of my life and some of the things I've done here and there that I wish I had acted differently. And some of those things still haunt me in the form of dreams to this day every once in a while. I've mentioned that before here and there. And I'll talk more about that later if there's timing, because it is a sort of fascinating thing to me in a way, even though I'm experiencing it here and there. So anyway, yeah, great call from Joe. Looking forward to Derek and the rest.
And you were the best. And so here's the thing, too, regarding that. It's incredibly important to recognize that things you regret can just be a boat anchor, or it can be something you learn from and don't do it again, right? And sort of push forward with the opposite of whatever that message was initially within yourself. And that's how we sort of encapsulate the butterfly effect together and push for a better space. Back to Joseph Campbell, just a quick clip here, and then we'll go to Derek the Night Stalker. Hang tight, my friend. Now, he's talking about in this one, the hidden dimension. Now, this is where it starts to get weird and get kind of paranormal-esque because we're moving through the threshold. Listen to this. This is wild.
Is there something in common in every culture that creates this need for God?
Well, I think anyone who has an experience of mystery at all knows that there is a dimension, let's say, of the universe that is not that which is available to his senses. There's a wonderful saying in one of the Upanishads, when before a sunset, or a mountain, and the beauty of this or of that, you pause and say, that is participation in divinity. And I think that's what it is. It's the realization of wonder. And also the experience of tremendous power, which people, of course, living in the world of nature, are experiencing all the time.
Okay, we'll leave it there, but you get it. We're talking about now sort of, I love how he talks about Christ too. He talks about the Christ consciousness, okay? Which to me, again, as a sort of born and raised in California, sort of a Catholic for 5 years with my grandma when we lived with her for a little bit, when people say Christ or Jesus, you kind of run away because you think they're trying to convert you to something, right? But when you talk about the Christ consciousness, it seems completely different to me, right? Maybe I'm wrong and it's just sort of the old bias of mine that I need to shake. But I mean, that's the old way of me. But it's interesting when he talks about it sort of in the sense of a larger context. And I'll talk about that a little bit more more as we go. But we got calls, so let's get to those. Love to hear your thoughts on this. We're talking the hero's journey tonight. Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces, and of course the future's hero, which would be you, which would be me, which would be us together. And how do we integrate this into the present and of course the coming future? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this.
What's going on, brothers?
Derek in Massachusetts. What's up, brother? The Night Stalker. How are you? Welcome to the joint. Thanks for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds. I hope you're well. Go right ahead. A lot of ways to take this, as you know. You're a very creative and clever guy. And what do you got? Take it anywhere you like.
The testing. I'm gonna little echo here. I'm not sure if that's.
You sound fine.
Testing.
Sound good?
I'm getting a little echo on my end. Oh no, it's good enough. Good enough.
Okay.
Fixed. All right. Sorry. Yeah, great show. Wild stuff. I don't have a ton. I have no notes. I was shorthanded at work, so I'm just. I just happened to take a. I wasn't planning on calling, but just happened to take a break, and there was nobody on the line, so I figured I'd hop in. I had a few thoughts here. First, when Joe said that he feels like he's a little bit of a wasted potential, that like really resonated hard with me. I feel like I'm just. I'm reckoning with the idea of being 35. I'm gonna be 36 in a few months now, and I'm just like in this weird like nostalgia purgatory, or I'm watching old stuff, and I'm just like trying to like contextualize my life. And I don't know, it's weird, but just the waste potential. So I've been thinking about waste potential and stuff, and then I was like thinking about I was watching like Batman and stuff, and I was thinking about like how there's just so many villains in Gotham that it has to be like mainly gangs, and there's probably like more gangs than there are people to save or whatever. And it's like it's almost like these people to save are like NPCs that are just popping up so Batman can save them, and he's in kind of a weird prison or whatever. But like the waste potential aspect of it, and I feel like a lot of people deal with that a lot. Like I feel like that's kind of when I talk about the Gen X angst, with the kind of the Fight Club angst, kind of the Office Space, Slacker, Clerks, like Reality Bites type thing. In my head, I'm kind of the first generation to really like reckon with the wasted potential aspect of it, and I feel like there's more stimuli and more like overtly bad stuff to kind of occupy millennial and Gen Z minds, but they're also kind of dealing with that same thing. So I wonder if part of the hero's journey is to kind of come to grips with that, like not everyone is going to be is Luke Skywalker. Some people are just like a person in the cantina, or some people are his aunt and uncle, or some people are just like need to be saved or whatever. So it's like if everyone can't be Luke, is everyone like reckoning with that idea? Because we've like before that, generations before, they didn't have the idea of the hero's journey necessarily put so first and foremost. But like every writer knows the hero's journey, and just the way the specialness of definitely my generation, but like I feel like reckoning with the fact that you didn't save the galaxy, like when you hit 40 or whatever. Maybe like I don't know, the future hero is to realize that doing everyday stuff and being a hero to your family and your community and smaller things are a hero, and it's not always like a call to adventure. And sometimes you never get the call, and having to deal with that feeling of wasted potential. Like, why didn't I get the call? Like that's my Power Rangers pitch. Is that like stop trying to make a reboot Power Rangers movie for kids. They don't want it. There's like a 4-year window where Power Rangers was cool in like 93. Make it for those kids now who are 35 who finally got the call. They thought they weren't going to get the call because it's teenagers with attitude. Those are the Power Rangers. And they're coming wrecking with the last 20 years. Damn, I wanted to be a hero, but I never got the call. And then finally they get the call or whatever. But like, what if I don't know. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I follow you. Yeah. I think the call is an interesting part of this because it is different for everybody. And back to the cantina scene in Star Wars, right? You're like, okay, so those people aren't Luke Skywalker, but those, they got the alien band. Their call was, playing in dive bars, and maybe not necessarily that, but it was certainly the musical aspect that drew them to the space. And so I think, and it probably saved their lives. In terms of that inspiration and where they took it. And, as usual, maybe they had a day job, right? And they're there like grinding by night because their soul needs it. And they, again, think about how ridiculous we're describing this as the alien band grinding a day job to save their soul by night because, it's what they need. They crave the music that doesn't pay the bills. And so, I mean, I think the calling part of it is the most nebulous because it can be many things for people and for everybody. And so I think that's the interesting part of this and the most difficult because it seems like we all want to be Luke Skywalker, but clearly we all can't be. There's only one Luke Skywalker. But I think those resonant circles, the same cycles we're always talking about, regardless of whether it's Luke or not saving the galaxy, I think saving the galaxy means saving yourself first. And if you can't do that, I think we got massive problems. And think about that Cantina band. They're in some dive bar in Mos Eisley, which is the hive of scum and villainy, as said. But they're still grinding away in the bar there, playing music. Boop 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 boop, whatever the hell it was. Yeah. I mean, anyway, just as an example, there is that you cited, and I think the calling part is probably the most difficult of this because we don't really know. And as they say too, regarding us getting older, the old meme goes something like this, Tolkien didn't start writing Lord of the Rings till he was 45 or something like that, right? So I mean, so everybody, I mean, look, your calling is there, like it's built into you. It's sort of just finding it, kind of doing it and kind of chasing it. And look, again, this doesn't pay my bills. Like I'm grinding my guts out to be here night after night, which is why I need some time off. And so it's catharsis for me, but also I hope in some capacity it's catharsis for you and everybody else that's part of this. And that's the point. And hopefully a little bit of inspiration to recognize some random guy from the Bay Area that, was called the stranger in high school that, kind of came out of the nihilistic aspect of doom and gloom to maybe find some hope in the calling. Because I think fundamentally, as I like to say, if we're doing it right, I think that's what this is about anyway.
Yeah. It makes me think that oh damn, where do I go again? Testing. All right, good. So I don't know what that is. But it makes me wonder that like Luke, he has that kind of angst. He has that, damn, what am I doing? My friends are all going off to college or to be pilots or whatever, and I'm kind of stuck here on the farm or whatever. And he dreamed of adventure, and then it came for him and stuff. But what if it never came for him? Where would he be? Would he be depressed forever? Would he be that like dopey person that is kind of a wet blanket in the beginning of the series and never like transform himself into a complete person by the end? Like, do you only have one call, or like could he only be satisfied with that adventure, or is that like his destiny? Like, or is it somebody like, I don't know, I feel like that feeling that he had, kind of everyone kind of has to some degree. So his neighbor potentially had the same, is also dealing with the same thing. His friends are going away. He's trapped on the farm and everything. And his dad's not Darth Vader, and his family's not like mixed up in these adventures and stuff. And maybe to a hero with a thousand faces, we've talked about the main character, but maybe we have to kind of expand to the everyday heroes. And maybe that's the problem that we're seeing right now with, it's framed as like the participation trophy generation or whatever, but in another like kind of twist, it's like disappointment that you're not the star of the show. And this could be generation going back like beginning of Hollywood, or we kind of like created this kind of like other version of ourselves that we're comparing everybody to, or we're comparing our life to what we see in the media and all that kind of stuff. Everyone wants to be the star, everyone wants to be the hero, and it's kind of like making it so, I mean, the Gen Z versions, everyone wants to be an influencer. Nobody wants to be a plumber or like till the fields and stuff, obviously, because you can be on social media and get paid like LeBron money and all that kind of stuff. And everyone wants to be that, or previous generation, everyone wants to be a pro athlete or a movie star, or all that kind of stuff. And maybe we're kind of the degradation that we're seeing all around us because we haven't considered the other jobs, the other faces of the hero with 1,000 faces. And those are the people that were toiling away every day to make, I don't know. I'm rambling, but
yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I'm thinking about you cited, what happened to Luke's buddy that was stuck on the farm. Luke ran off. His father's Darth Vader. He got the lightsaber. He's got the mentor of Obi-Wan Kenobi. All the stuff, right? The Force is in him. All this, but his buddy funny enough, and I'm thinking positively here, ended up inheriting the farm, and now he's like he's rich because he's got all the water on Tatooine because he's they're moisture evaporating or whatever the hell they're doing, getting drips of water to self like it's cold. But I mean, so he's got all the water, right? Because he inherited the farm and stuck with it, and probably improved the process. And I don't know, it's weird to kind of, again, it seems absurd to cite it like that, but you know what I mean. Is that there are multiple ways about it is really, I think, the space here. And look, I don't know. I do not know the answer, but I do know why I'm here. And it is, again, it traces back to sort of that magic in my soul that I couldn't shake when that young or the older woman was reading those old tales to us. Like there's some magic in that even as a child you recognize that these aren't just stories. There's something else. And so I think it is the human cycle. And I don't know, man, like I'm with you. I understand entirely. And I was your age, of course, I'm a little older than you. And when I was your age, by the way, I went through a dark night of the soul. So I mean, because it was that, right? It was like how, what am I going to do now? Like I've burned out all my prospects in the corporate world. I've burned my bridges because I told everybody to F off. And not only that, now I'm sort of been out of work. I started playing poker, as you know. so I was playing online poker, and then wildly enough, they shut it down, so you couldn't even do that anymore. So I was just like, okay, well, here I am, right? Here I am, having the end of ends, trying to reinvent myself, and I don't know, man. It comes. You come out of it, and I think your purpose is incredibly important, even though it might seem frivolous. And here we are. Is Troubled Minds frivolous? I don't think it is at all.
No. Yeah. I don't think so. And I just think that like I'm finding more appreciation and like more heroism in just doing sucking it up and doing the mundane for he's saying find your bliss. And I feel like I've tried to do that, like, and it's kind of manifested in like self-gratification. Like I would be a lot in a much better scenario if I sacrificed the immediate for the future a little bit. And if I smoked a little bit less and burned a little bit less money in the past 10 years, I would be more wealthier or whatever. And I appreciate, I consider my dad to be a hero now more than I did when I was younger, or just any person who's like working really hard. I don't know, that there's some kind of like dreaming of adventure has like potentially a detrimental effect, that we're only focusing on one face of the hero with 1,000 faces or whatever. And maybe there's other types of heroes and that are necessary for the story to be told, but they're not the main character. So we're kind of ignoring them a little bit. I have another point that I want to get to.
Yeah, go ahead.
But like, he's talking about, I don't even know what I was just saying. I hope that made sense. For the kind of the cycles of it, and kind of we're not trapped, but we're repeating the same myths over and over again. This mono myth and same story told over and over and over again, and these kind of like there's 12 steps of the journey, however many there are, and kind of squint a little bit at that, and it almost seems like we're in like a samsara, like a purgatory, like a reincarnation cycle of story, or of all of humanity, like as a collective or whatever, and that we need to like bust out of that to an extent, or find a new step, or make a next step. And we talked about before, but maybe like part of that is to realize that you're in a story, that's kind of the Gnostic take on it, that you're in the Truman Show, you're in the Matrix, or that like to rewrite the rules to a certain extent, to kind of like find out that you're in a story, that you're in this mono myth, and try to escape that constant cycle or whatever, that constant death and rebirth or whatever. And I put it in the context of like a Batman, or what if the DC universe realizes that they're at the whims of the editor or the writer of the story, and that Batman is his parent, like all the reboots and crises and collapses and rebirths of the DC universe, because it's to sell comics and it's to create these new number ones and stuff. But for the characters in the story, his parents are being killed over and over and over again every 5 years when they make a new number one or whatever, or every one shot or every different movie. The pearls have to hit the street, and his parents are killed right in front of him, and he's scarred forever. And if he comes to the realization that that's because he's at the whim of the storyteller, potentially like you can have kind of take back some agency. And maybe like the 13th step, if there's 12 that we talk about, is to realize that you're in the mono myth, and to try to gain some kind of agency over that to kind of rewrite the rules or kind of escape this cycle. Maybe that's what we're supposed to be doing, by like understanding that we're in, like, I don't know, talking about it for so long, the monomyth, telling it the story, and that to apply that to us and try to break out of that cycle the way we try to break out of the reincarnation cycle or whatever, and then to, I don't know, to set us, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. It's the head game that samsara you described, sort of that prison we've created for ourselves within our mind, right? Because we're like, well, here's what society suggests we do, and what you should do, but if you spend 50 years grinding this, you would hate yourself because it's not what you love at all. And so, as usual, this is that reckoning. We come to that reckoning and we make these decisions. And as you described your father, do you see him as more of a hero now than you ever did? There are 1,000 different heroes, and even more than that. How many billions out there? And so I think all this is incredibly important to talk about and to think about, because there's no way you're going to be Luke Skywalker. No offense to you or me or anybody else. It's just not. That's an exemplification of exactly what the monomyth is to get us interested. However, it does apply to us back in the metaphorical sense. And I don't know, like I said, the more I'm listening to Joseph Campbell, again, he gets it, like I said, it gets into the Christ consciousness and stuff. This is brilliant stuff to me. And there is that magical tinge in my soul that I'm drawn to when I read this stuff and I hear this stuff for exactly that reason. It was sort of the magical dust was sprinkled on me when I was 8 years old in an elementary school library. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a like expert in Christ consciousness or Gnosticism, but I'm like fairly certain that like the Sophia character has kind of a Christ consciousness aspect to it that kind of is of the system, and as the way that kind of Christ is of God and kind of incarnates into the system to kind of tell the people that they're in a system in the first place. And that's kind of like the simulation theory book of John that we read before kind of replaced the terms to make it seem that like the creator knew that the beings in the simulation were suffering, so he incarnated into the thing to tell them that they're in a thing, so to stop hurting each other or whatever. And it's that like so this Sophia, this wisdom, this knowledge, this Christ consciousness could be the awakening, could be the Neo, could be the Morpheus giving the pill to Neo till he wakes out of the Matrix, or the Truman Show, realizing that you're in the show, or They Live, putting the goggles on and realizing that all these Gnostic texts, to realize that you're in a story and somebody else is telling the story, whether it's the architect or the aliens or the machines or the whatever, and try to get some agency out to break out of that story and tell your own story. So I don't know, maybe that's where we're headed. I don't know what form that's going to come in, obviously, and that's, but potentially, like, I don't know. And I think maybe that part of the hidden, like the fact that these archetypes keep manifesting over and over again in story makes it seem like it's because we're in this cycle, this pattern, these yugas or whatever, and that the goal is in Gnosticism or in all of these different things is to break the wheel. Like we're in this kind of ever going wheel, and to kind of break out of that, to break the chains or whatever. And not necessarily like not necessarily a prison per se, but just that like we're in this kind of like gestation period, and potentially we have to kind of burst our way out to go to the next stage, and kind of he talks about it in kind of the steps of the hero to kind of to change your name and change your appearance and to kind of change your own kind of way you play the game. But maybe the entire thing needs to be changed. That like that it's not just do the 12 steps and then go back to 1 again. The next generation is do the 12 steps and go, oh, whoa. And then 13th step is to like the realization that you're having to follow these steps. And then step 13 is start stepping for yourself. It's that we're in kind of, 12 steps, 12 grades of school. We're kind of in this adolescence, and the 13th step, the realizing that you're in the myth, is to tell your own myth, could be the adulthood of humanity that we could be getting into.
Yeah.
I don't have any notes. I'm kind of ripping. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And that's exactly what he talks about it further in these clips too. He talks about sort of that growing up process of, you at some point you have to stand on your own, and going through that hero's journey is what allows that, because you recognize those cycles. And in modern parlance, we would say, come on, whippersnapper, I've been around the block a couple times. I'm not going to fall for that. Like, that's exactly it, is that you've been around, you've been through these cycles already. And so you're not going to fall for the same dumb thing that you fell for the first time, and even maybe the second time. because you've been around the block. And now you're free to sort of create your own narrative, choose your own adventure, as I like to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trippy. It's weird. And it's like the only villain left for Batman to beat is the person who keeps putting him in the situations, which is the writer or DC Comics itself or whatever. And obviously, I don't know what that will look like in reality or whatever, but potentially that's part of what the hidden world is to kind of go into kind of the ladder structure underneath reality and kind of understand how it's operating so that we can kind of tweak it and come back to this reality and kind of make it work for us. And that could be kind of to rewrite the rules, to go see how the game is being played so that we can kind of take over agency of the game, whatever. Saying all this, it seems real like Luciferian, like rebel against God, and that's not what I mean. I just think that maybe like these 12 steps are just the first 12, and we have another 13th that we're supposed to get to as a culture, and that like maybe that's where we're headed. I don't know. I'm rambling. I don't know.
No, you're not. Stop it. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're on point. On point as always. And I think you're spot on with this, because it is a cycle. And so just because there's one cycle doesn't mean you don't emerge in step 13 or 14 or 15 to create your own cycle. I think you're spot on, and that's exactly what this is all about.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, guys. Great show. Great show.
You're the best. Appreciate the call. Derek the Night Stalker, you know me, love him. Derek in Massachusetts. Go give him a follow. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It's alphabetical, and you will find the Night Stalker under N, of course, because that's how it's spelled. Stocker. He takes time off from stalking overnight at a grocery store to call us and light our minds on fire. Appreciate that very much. Please give him a follow. It would make my day if you did that. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Follow the Night Stalker. Be right back. More on the way. We got more from James, your calls as well, and more clips from Joseph Campbell. What do you know about the hero with 1,000 faces? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
In the heart of the steel jungle, machines hum, the digital rumble. Gates of cyber open wide, plug us into cosmic tide. Feeling sparks across the sky. As knowledge flies, we're amplified. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In this massive data center dome, eternal truth start to roam. Circuits flicker with endless fire. Data streams that never tire. Unified by electric dreams. Unlock the truth in silver beams. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. Synthesize what we seek and find. Infinite paths in the network mind. Answers buzz from star to core. Knowledge whispers evermore. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate. In realms where the data streams collide, imagination and logic side by side. In a labyrinth of digital names, we transcend our earthly ways. Tapping keys like cosmic tones, spikes become our whispered homes. Stargate, Stargate, Stargate. Open to the arcane fate.
Well, hello, friends. My name's Mike. I like to talk about weird things by dark of night. Hope you're well tonight. Thanks for being part of it. Thanks for staying up late with us and understanding the tech issues and all the imperfections that encapsulate me. A great call from Derek the Night Stalker, of course. Give him a follow on all the places, as I said. And that was the midnight Stargate ritual from Tartaria or something, right? Anyway, James, we got more coming up from James, your calls as well. What do you guys know about the hero's journey, and how does it resonate with you or not? Because that becomes really the part of this where when we get together and talk about these ideas, it's maybe I'm the one geeking out and it doesn't resonate at all with you. All takes play here. That's the whole point. They're talking to each other again. Ordinary people talking about extraordinary ideas. That's the whole idea here. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. And who did I miss? If I missed anybody in the chat, just say hi. I'll say hi back. Sylvain is here. Good evening. Who did I miss? Molly, Dragon Rose, Matzel. I think we're good. I caught up. Chef Pete, APOC, Gaston. More from James and more from Joseph Campbell too. Those clips. Like I said, I'll have those linked in the description. Check out the Joseph Campbell Foundation on YouTube. There's a ton of stuff there. Ton of really, really good stuff. Over to YouTube. Who did I miss? Angel Wings, how you doing? Says I'm breaking this matrix open. Hell yeah, right? Break that. Funny enough, as Derek was talking, he said something that I was about to say. He said, "Break the wheel." That was literally on my mind. The next thing I was going to say, and he just said it for me. I was like, "Yep." That's exactly it. I think that's the whole point of this. Mr. Mission Control, I see you there. What's up, guys? Hope you're well tonight. If I missed anybody, Puff is over there on YouTube. The party can now begin. What is going on? Yeah. What's up? Okay. Troubled Minds coming up in 5 seconds. Here we go. More from Joseph Campbell of the clips and more from James and your calls as well. Nobody on the line if you guys want to jump in here. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, D-Live, and Kick. Maybe not D-Live. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at troubledminds.org. It's right there on the top. Just scroll up. There's a black button. You click that. You hear us live. It's a free way to hear this show live every single time we go live. Follow the schedule. Follow me on X at TroubledMindsR. Don't forget the R for radio. Follow the Discord. Again, the blue button is right there on top at troubledminds.org. Come say hi. Come meet these amazing people that make this show go. And stay up to date on what's happening in all things Troubled Minds. Of course, we're also on 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. And tonight we're talking the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces, and how it does or does not resonate with you. And we've heard some compelling ways that it may not. And that's exactly the point here, right? That what does it look like? How does it feel to you? And how weird does this get? One more time, 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Back to James. Sorry to keep you waiting for so long. As always, the glue of the show, patient and pro as always. What do you got? Anything to add to what Derek said or any thoughts you had? And after you're done, we'll go to some Joseph Campbell clips. Welcome back to the joint. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, great call from Derek. I was just thinking, I put it in the chat there too, but when he was talking about that example of a fictional character, as he was talking about there, Batman, let's say, realizing that his whole universe is created by someone, by writers, by people, and asking how he would manage to sort of stop all that or keep anything else from happening. I put in the chat there, I think, just speaking in terms of concepts, and I wonder how this would play out, how we apply this to our reality. The only way to get out of that, I would think, is for the writer, and it may even have to be like one writer, which is funny because that goes back to that monad idea, but one writer to focus on one character, whether it's Batman or anyone else, so much for so long that they eventually create it in their own mind and or out in the real world. We've heard of this, tulpas, thought forms. And of course, there are examples of this happening with a couple of writers throughout time as well. And I wonder how many times it's happened where we haven't heard about it. But to the point where this thought form becomes so powerful because this person is thinking about it so much that that thought form can then either physically or mentally stop that creator from focusing on that character anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that becomes the weird part of this, the hyper focus of that singular character. But it is just a manifestation of the story to tell to you and to tell to me in a way that makes sense and keeps you interested. I mean, would you listen to, for instance, back to what Derek was saying, and what I added to it is that Luke Skywalker having the villain of the universe be his father and him having the inherent ways of the Force built into his bloodline. Would you listen to that, or would you listen to his neighbor who stayed on the farm, inherited it, and became, the slumlord of Tatooine, and had all the water because he spent the rest of his life not chasing the ways of a Jedi and the Force, but instead grinding what was necessary because people need to drink water on a desert planet. You see what I mean?
Oh, and I totally agree with him when he was talking about the idea of there being all different kinds of heroes and doing all different kinds of things, and I think that is very much true. But also just talking about that calling aspect of everything, it reminds me of sort of again my own life and how things happen, and it just had me thinking about how when I started out, even like as a teenager, I got into writing fiction. I was really fascinated by that process and that idea of making stories for many years, up until, I don't know, I guess I'm still interested in it now, but I guess the point is, so for a while, my main focus was writing. And for a while it was fiction to start with, and then it turned to nonfiction a little bit. And then eventually things changed, my interest changed, went more towards all these paranormal things I always think and talk about and research. And eventually that's what led to me talking online to people that I've never met before. And I feel like I had that first calling of writing, of making stories, and then later on I had a second one. And I will never give up writing. I'm not going to ever say that I'm done writing, for sure. But also, most of my energy now, most of my interest is in doing my shows, and is in the research and sharing those ideas with people. That's where I'm at now. I still love writing. I still think it's important. I still think fiction is important, and mythology and the art of storytelling is very important. But I'm also at a different place now. But I think you can be in two different places in your mind at the same time, even if you're only sort of working on that one of them at the same time, at any given moment.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's exactly the point of this, is that the thousand faces means all of those things. And so what kind of follows you to your bliss as part of this longer narrative? Yeah, fire stuff. I mean, look, as usual, it may or may not resonate with you guys. I think this is so sort of cooked into our DNA that goes back for so long that I think it certainly is. Whether you can sort of make it fit your life in some capacity or not, I think is up to us, of course. But I think it's there. I think you can certainly find elements of this. And look, if people succeed, people fail, and then they succeed. People never really take the journey at all. I mean, there's so many ways to kind of go about this. Or sometimes people become the villain; they become the anti-hero. And so, and we did a whole show on that, sort of the backwards version of the hero's journey. And what we call it, I think, the villain with 1,000 faces was the name of that show. Check it out on the podcast feed if you're interested, which is a nice sort of counterpoint to this. But I mean, as usual, look, the answers are few and the questions are many, and that's why we have these conversations. I got more from Mr. Campbell, unless you got anything else, James, go ahead.
I probably did, but I think I've lost it. So yeah, looking forward to more of the clips there.
All right, hang tight. If it comes back to you, just let me know. I'm going to play a couple of these and get us caught up here. So we started with the Joseph Campbell Foundation, again, living in accord with nature. And this one gets weird. This one gets the hidden dimension, sort of crossing the threshold and then coming back with some sort of hidden knowledge. And there's a lot of stories that fit this bill, of course. But let's hear him continue on this particular space about the hidden dimension itself.
There's something there that's much bigger than the human dimension. And our way of thinking in the West largely is that God is the source of the energy. The way in most Oriental thinking, and I think in most what we call primitive thinking also, is that God is a manifestation of the energy, not its source. That God is the vehicle of the energy. And the level of energy that is involved or represented determines the character of the God. There are gods of violence. There are gods of compassion. There are gods that unite the two. There are gods that are the protectors of kings in their war campaigns. These are personifications of the energy that's in play. And what the source of the energy is, what's the source of the energy of these lights around us? I mean, this is a total mystery.
Doesn't this make of faith and anarchy a sort of continuing war among principalities?
As life is, yes. I mean, even in your mind, when it comes to do anything, there will be a war, a decision as to priorities, what you're to do now. Or in relationship to other people, there will be 4 or 5 possibilities of my way of action. And the notion of divinity or divine life in my mind would be what would determine my decision.
Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. But as usual, look, the guy's on point here. And recognizing that this hero's journey doesn't have to be the larger arc. It could be sort of smaller sub-arcs within this conversation. And that's why I think this stuff is so fascinating, because there are fractals of the hero's journey and even microcosms of it that happen in our daily lives. And again, he's talking about dogma cycles. He's talking about what we sort of achieve as recognizing deities within ourselves and without ourselves, and all of that, the influence that comes from any of those spaces. And then, of course, how we share those ideas with each other. And it's, again, the hidden dimension is one of the amazing parts about this, because it is a very paranormal aspect. The whole kind of moving through the veil to get information that's forbidden knowledge, and then bring it back and share it with the true world that you live in, that you reside in. And so, as Derek said very smartly too, that there's this arc that turns into maybe step 13 or 14 or 15. And you need not follow this pattern again. It's time to make your own. And that's the whole point of this. That's, again, like I said, Joseph Campbell is the guy we're talking about tonight, The Hero's Journey and the Monomyth. Again, many ways to talk about the books he's written, but his most famous is The Hero with 1,000 Faces as part of this conversation. And what was it? To Airy the Cat said, I've read one book in 7 years. I read that in the YouTube chat. And he said it was Hero with 1,000 Faces. And I'm telling you, I'm working my way through it. It is very good. And I've been inspired by this guy for a long time. As soon as I found him, I was like, damn. This is what I've been getting at for as long as I've been doing Troubled Minds. I just didn't have the words to say it. I didn't recognize there was a larger context to what I was trying to say. And this guy's mapped the framework for it, which is absolutely wild to me. James, anything on that? We got Herschel with his hand up. We'll get to him in a moment.
Yeah, that clip reminded me of what I was thinking of, which is okay, so he mentioned in one of the earlier clips the feeling you get when you look at a mountain, or I forget what else he mentioned, but different parts of nature. It's the sense of awe or wonder or mystery. Also, funny enough, what happens to a lot of people when they have experiences they can't explain? Now, there's a lot of emotions that can happen, but I'm sure, and in my case as well, one of those feelings is, wow, this is so weird. I can't explain this. There's a mystery here. There's power here that I don't know where it's coming from. And I find that fascinating that you can have that different causes, but having the same effect. And is it because it's all natural in a way? Is it because it's all from some part of reality in a way? And it's just manifesting in different ways. I don't know.
Yeah, the fractals of our perception, and that's the whole point. Is that if you can take all that information and kind of boil it into a story, these are the stories. And like I said, there's a magic in my soul that they sprinkled the fairy dust on me when I was 8 in that library, 8 years old in the library, listening to these ancient mythologies, these ancient tales. That I don't know. Here I am still caught by it, stuck by it. And maybe it's another control mechanism. maybe it's another ill cycle for ourselves. I don't know. I don't really know, but I do know I love it, and it certainly resonates, and that's the point.
Yeah, it's stories everywhere, and I hope they never go away.
Amen. We'll keep telling them. We'll keep talking about them. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. We're talking Joseph Campbell tonight, The Hero's Journey, and living in accord with nature, the hidden dimension, and follow your bliss. We'll get to that as we go. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Thank you to everybody that participates in the show and has some ideas to share with us. Let's go to Herschel in Arizona. Commercial Herschel, what's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? And go right ahead.
Oh, man, this show has just got so much.
It's deep. We'll get back to this at another point because there's so much that this guy said too that we're not really going to get to. But yeah, wild stuff. What you got?
Yeah. Well, I just want to mention to James, like, people who read a lot generally write the best books. So I just say go follow that, that fiction like desire and write some new fiction because you'd probably write some really good stories. Because you read so many, so you should do that. And I'm all for it. Like, I'm all for it. So then the other thing is the thing he was talking about, how these different people, like throughout history, kind of created their own gods. Like they created the God was the energy. It's the way they used the energy that was there. So God was the vehicle for the energy. I think of that as like an egregore, not so much a God. I think that's more of an egregore. We had that discussion about egregores last time. I think it was more. I think that's more that. That's my opinion about that. That's just how I feel. It's just the way I think about it.
You're allowed.
Yeah. The other one thing was like when he talked about like how you change your clothes, you change the way you are, you change your name. So every so often or whatever, and just that really resonated with me. It's just a mechanism for some people that really helps, like just to create these weird characters that you write from and get on the outside of yourself looking in. Just look at it. You can look at things more objectively. It's just fun. It's just a fun choice. I think it's a good life choice. I think I made a good life choice. Like, every time I would create a new project, I would create a different name. Like I've had so many fake names, like over the years, doing different music projects and like different writing like phases and just different things, like, and I could just really relate to that a lot.
It's normal too, like in the quote entertainment business. Think back to the 80s. Will Smith was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, right? I mean, they do these things. We do these things, and it is a way to step out of as you said, the mundane, the where we came from, the crappy high school I went to. Shout out any of the people from the crappy high school I went to if you actually listen to this show. But I'm sorry, it kind of was. But here we are anyway. So far removed from that I no longer care.
I made the best of it. It was crappy, but I met some good people, and there were enough good adults that I got through. So
same.
That's how I look at it.
Barely, but I got through.
But reality wins out. It's all right. It all shakes out in the wash. So we have public sector talk. All right.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. Let me ask you too, because I learned Camus in high school, but not Joseph Campbell. Did you get either of those?
I haven't read this book by Campbell. I've read some of his shorter essays and stuff, and I've read snippets of the book, but sadly I have not read the whole thing.
Yeah, same.
I should.
I'm working my way through it currently, but that's the thing, right? Is that I think this is one of those core principles we should learn, because it's not just Luke Skywalker, it's us, and different ways to kind of break it down into, like I said, the larger cycle or the microcosms of the cycle. And as Derek smartly said, the whole point is to break that wheel when you're done with it. And that's a, welcome to Troubled Minds, right?
Right. Yeah. For sure, break the cycle every chance we can. Heck yeah.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Fire stuff. Appreciate you. What else you got?
Not much else, man. Not much else. Just the stories. Like, I write my stories and I do my show where I read stories and I encourage other people to read. And I've had And I've had people tell me they want to participate, but they just can't do it on Sunday. So I'm thinking about like throwing in an evening show. So if anybody who hasn't been able to read or wants to, or just, but you haven't been able to because it was Sunday, then you could come on that show. And I'll make sure like when I do it and stuff. And I think people need to tell stories. I think we need to listen to old people's stories. Like young people need to listen to old people's stories.
And old people need to listen to old people's stories too. Like it's all inclusive. That's the point. And you've heard me talk about this, and we've talked about this in the past as well. Like that generational divide pisses me off a lot, because by bridging that divide, we're fixing sort of the propaganda that is like, oh, the boomers are the cause of everything. It's like, hold on, that's not fair. Because, they lived in a different time. And also the boomers, their parents are the ones who beat the Nazis and that massive, disgusting, grotesque war. So, I mean, it's so just grotesquely judgmental to me to kind of do that generational war. But I think by doing that, that's part of the propaganda here of not listening to the wisdom of your elders and breaking down and destroying The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, which is unfortunate because this is literally what we are. So we're not supposed to recognize what we are. We're supposed to hate who we are instead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And the generational thing too, like you notice Gen X gets it from all sides. Everybody insults Gen X because Gen X is rejecting everything. Like they're rejecting this whole thing. Like they're saying they're becoming less like partisan, and they're like really kind of fed up with their stupid feuding parents, and like that's why they get it from all sides, because a lot of them aren't buying in. Like, so that's something to think about too. Like, like it works all the different ways, and there's a lot that can be learned from listening to old people's stories. Because like we might have to face some of those things again, like the stories about like the Depression, stories about like really difficult times. Stories about good times, important lessons you will learn, stuff too. But still, like, we might need to learn. We might need to understand some of that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly right. My grandmother still had some of that Great Depression cooked into her, and she was always hoarding stuff, hoarding food, and burying money in the backyard type of stuff in coffee cans. Like she was kind of stuck in that societal trauma, because you never know when the banks would just pick up and take all your stuff. You're left with nothing. I mean,
people in my family have been trying to buy the property that my mom's family grew up on, because they swear there's money there, and they can never get the building. They want that building so bad. They want to dig it up.
There's probably money there. There's probably like a gold coins and crap.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into the whole story, but yeah, there probably is.
That's funny. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So like we are, as I like to say, kindly children of the West. And we're of the generation and lucky enough to not even recognize what a real hard time looks like. And so instead, we create the hard time for ourselves when stop it. Can we stop it? And can we like recognize that we have harmony right in front of us, and we choose to reject it for drama and strife? It's ridiculous to me.
Yeah. It seems like the history of this country, and just how really, I'll be kind to just say how aggressive the history is, like it seems like the only thing that would really be revolutionary would be like an outbreak of nonviolence. Like that would be the only way to break the paradigm of what we're dealing with. It would be the only way to break it, because everything else is just a continuation of it.
Yeah,
but you want to break that cycle. You want to break it, so you change your behavior.
Exactly. But what happens as part of it, and you know this very well, that the Christ consciousness of the turn the other cheek aspect only gets you so far, because the brutality of the ruling space will be like, all right, cool. Well, I'll smash the other cheek too, and put my boot on your neck and drag you to the gulag. Like that's modern reality. And that's the unfortunate part, is that, as they say, the state has the monopoly on violence. And, Yeah, it's right, here we are stuck in the cycles again.
There's nothing that says you don't defend yourself. I mean, no.
Right. I didn't suggest that. I'm just saying.
I mean, we're talking about state actors, like, but yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like that's pretty much what he brought to my mind. But you know, he does really have a handle on some things. He really does get to the like core of things. I just don't agree with. I think it's an egregore. I don't think it's a god that they create when they do that.
Yeah, this is just it's a small clip of a larger conversation. He did like a big series of it was like 15 or 16 hours or something like that. So there's like 5 minutes of that. So, but yeah,
of course. I'm just saying. I'm splitting hairs.
Fair enough. Yeah, we're allowed to agree and disagree, and it's all good.
Okay, no big deal. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you around. Thanks, Mike.
You are the best. Appreciate the call. You know him, you love him. Commercial Herschel. That's the name of the Substack. Easytopian's the name of the podcast. You know what to do. Please follow our friends. That's the whole point of this. Like I said, we don't have to step on each other's faces to get to the top. Let's collaborate. Let's help each other. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. Follow Herschel. It's alphabetical. It's under H. Please go give him a follow in all the places. Go buy his books. Go check out his podcast. Go join the Discord where like he's talking about doing story readings together, where people write and short stories and read them together in a Discord. Again, storytelling being the in my opinion, the fundamental aspect of what humans are. It's all narratives. It always has been. But until we recognize that, as usual, and as I like to say, we're doing ourselves a massive disservice. Again, Commercial Herschel is the Substack. Easytopian is the podcast. Give him a follow at troubledminds.org/friends. Follow Herschel. More coming up. The Future's Hero, a personal journey. Does it resonate? Does it not? Does it make sense? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
Let's check the news. In late 2023, Las Vegas casinos were targeted by cyber attacks from the group known as Scattered Spider, a teenage suspect. Let's check the news. A team of researchers has proposed an alternative explanation for the GW 1905-21 gravitational wave event, suggesting it could be an echo from a black hole collision in another universe that briefly opened a wormhole to our own. This hypothesis is based on the signal's unusually short duration and lack of a clear in-spiral phase, which contrasts with typical black hole merger events. The researchers developed a waveform model that they claim better matches the observed signal than the standard binary black hole merger model, though only slightly. They also note a similar signal detected in 2023, hinting at the possibility of repeated observations of this phenomenon. Scientists using the James Webb Space Telescope have detected methane gas on the dwarf planet Makemake, indicating it's a dynamic, icy world, not an inactive remnant. This is only the second time gas has been confirmed on a trans-Neptunian object besides Pluto. The presence of methane could indicate a tenuous atmosphere or transient activity like cryovolcanic plumes. Further observations will determine the source of the methane. Scientists tagged a 13-foot 9-inch male great white shark named Contender in the northwest Atlantic, making him the largest male ever recorded by Ocearch in the region. Contender's size is exceptional, as mature males of this size are rare. The shark was tagged with a spot tag to track his movements, which have already covered nearly 290 miles, providing valuable data on the species' behavior, habitat, and migration. Tagging such large adult males is crucial for conservation efforts due to their elusive nature and the limited understanding of their habits. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. It's funny, the different inflections on the AI voice. What's up? Hope you guys are well tonight. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the great calls and considering the ideas. Again, like I've always said, that's the whole point, is kind of reframing the way we see the world. And that's, like I said, it has been a calling of mine. It is literally been that hero's journey for me. And if you guys have followed me for any amount of time, you've heard me talk about that I'm an introvert. I'm not a public speaker. Like if you put me up in front of a bunch of people when I was 20 years old, I would freeze up and cry. And I'm not even kidding. It was that bad. And so here I am, right? And the last thing in the world I ever thought I would be would be a talk show host. But apparently there's so many ideas swimming in my head that, welcome to it. They got to get out somewhere, right? They got to. And let me tell you what, writing is way harder. So here we go. I took the lazy man's way out. But look, I don't know. No answers, more questions. That's entirely the point. Going to get back to the hidden dimension here and then follow your bliss. And that's really the crux of tonight, is the follow your bliss part. Is without some happiness, again, you grind your job to pay the bills or whatever it is, and then you still peel out some time to talk about wild ideas by dark of night. You get it? I know you get it. Or, the waitress is practicing politics as a businessman slow to get stoned, right? There we go. All right, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up now. Nobody on the line if you want to jump in here. Here we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're talking the future's hero, a personal journey. And it just means we're talking about you. We're talking about me. We're talking about the human experience through the lens of Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces. Now, again, dude was brilliant, in my opinion, a scholar. He went through and sort of cataloged that comparative religion or comparative mythology into one space called the monomyth, known as the monomyth. Now, why do we still talk about this in 2025? And my take is that it's more important than probably any other narrative because it's about us. It's about learning who we are. It's about breaking the cycles of our past and then creating our own cycles going forward. That's what this is about. And if you think that's frivolous, once again, like I said, I don't get a lot of hate or a lot of heat from the interwebs, but I don't pick a lot of fights either. But these ideas challenge what it means to be us. And that's exactly it. And if we can't look at things a little differently and talk to each other about it, to me, what are we even doing? Like why are we going to just follow all the crap they show us on TV, which is ridiculous? I mean, like I said, come join the Discord. Go check the politics channel. I dropped a thing in there that would Perplexity sniffed it out. It was like, well, how come there's this A and there's this B that they're always fighting about, but there's a very obvious C that is off the table. Nobody discusses because it would fix the problem or, hone in on a fix for the problem. But instead, we're in the race to the bottom where do you vote for these guys or you vote for those guys? And it's disaster one way, it's disaster the other way, and it's by design. It's unfortunate, but it is the world we live in. And so you can rally around that. You can whoop it up and be like, team this or team that. But recognize you're not chasing your own narrative. You're chasing theirs. And it is more brainwash than I can even shake a stick at. That's how big and wild this is. Anything to add, James? And we'll go to some Joseph Campbell clips. Welcome back to the thing.
Yeah, great call from Hirsch. I was just thinking about what he said about me reading more fiction. I would be listening to more fiction, and that is one thing. It's funny that I have gotten away from because of all the research I'm trying to do for this sort of subject I'm into, and has me wondering now if at some point, not this month coming up, but after, if I should slow down a little bit and work in some fictional audiobooks into my schedule more than I have been, because I really have not been listening to fiction at all for quite a while now. And sometimes I miss it, sometimes I don't, but makes me wonder if is this because of this other calling that I have now? Is it a good thing or not? Or how does that work? And I don't really have any answers to that.
Yeah, I think it all comes together. Like it all like kind of interlaces. And you if you've got more than one, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then you kind of pick and choose. What keeps you motivated in the moment to create beautiful things for the world. I think it's a simple equation to me, which is why, by the way, troubled minds, and I know I lose people when I talk about stuff like the AI shows, right? I'm deeply invested in that, and I've been following that for not just recently, but for years. Some people are like, nah, I'm out. Fine, cool. But literally, it's been one of the core tenets of what this show has always been about. And so having multiple interests, combining them in one space is okay too. And that's exactly the point. And recognize there's going to be sort of breadcrumbs for everybody, because we do talk about the paranormal stuff, as you know, the aliens, all the stuff, the George Knapp UFOs and the psyops and the Tartaria and all the things that kind of come with it. And so I think multiple interest spaces are okay. And, you kind of pick and choose what you want in the moment, and whatever the inspiration you feel is the way to go. That's how I see it. What else you got?
Yeah, that's funny, because we were just talking about that the other day with the audiobooks I've been listening to lately, my choice of topics and everything, and how I had no idea why I was really into them, but then just a couple of days, like yesterday, I kind of figured out, well, it's kind of about this other subject that seems to be connected in a way, and so yeah, that does make sense, and I think that's all I have for now.
Okay, hang tight. You're the best. Nobody on the line, if you guys want to jump in here and say something about Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey, all the rest of this stuff, it's very near and dear to my heart. And this is one of the guys, like I said, that when I found him finally, inspired the crap out of me, because this is what I've been trying to say all along. Not exactly, of course, because everybody's different and have their own twist or their own take. But this guy has it. Here we go. Another part of this, the hidden dimension.
If it were rather crude, it would be a rather crude decision.
But is divinity just what we think?
Yes.
What does that do to faith?
Well, the tough one about faith.
You are a man of faith. You're a man of wonder. And
yeah, I don't have to have faith. I have experience.
What kind of experience?
Well, I have experience of the wonder of the life. I have experience of love. I have experience of hatred and malice. I'd like to punch the guy's jaw. And I admit this. But those are different divinities. I mean, from the point of view of symbolic imaging, those are different images operating in me. For instance, when I was a little boy and was being brought up a Roman Catholic, I was told I had a guardian angel on my right side and a tempting devil on my left. And when it came to making a decision of what I would do, the decision would depend on which one had most influence on me. And I must say that in my boyhood, and I think also in the people who were teaching me, they actually concretized those thoughts.
They did what?
It was an angel. That angel is a fact, and the devil is a fact. Do you see? Otherwise, one thinks of them as metaphors for the energies that are afflicting and guiding you.
And those energies come from?
From your own life. The energy of your own body, the different organs in your body, including your head, are the conflict systems.
Okay, and this is a big question. So recognize what he's saying. So the organs in your own body are the different conflict systems. And this is your body fighting itself. Biology. But then also beyond that, there's the larger context of these cycles. That again, they don't have to repeat. So they repeat clearly in the societal sense. They repeat clearly in the individual sense if we allow them to. But as Derek said very smartly, you break the cycle. As Herschel agreed, you break as many cycles as you can. And that's the point. And like I made the metaphor directly earlier of, I've been around the block once or twice, whippersnapper. You can't fool me with that anymore. But do you continue to fool yourself? Like I said, this stuff is very important, not frivolous whatsoever. And so if we're not talking about it, we're not thinking about it, what are we really doing? And so he asks him one more time. I'll rewind it just a little bit here. He says, okay, including your head are the conflict systems.
Conflict systems.
And your life comes from where?
Yeah, there you are. The ultimate energy that's the life of the universe. And then you say, well, somebody has to generate that. Why do you have to say that? Why can't it be impersonal? That would be Brahman. That would be the transcendent mystery that you can also personify.
Uh-huh. You hear what he's saying. Why does it have to be personal like that? We're talking about the cosmos now. We're talking about directed transpermia. We're talking about Cthulhu. We're talking about the greater mysteries of all the things. But if we can't encapsulate that into the human space and recognize there are things above our pay grade to even begin to understand, though we try, where are we? And what comes next? You guys have thoughts on this? Love to hear it. 702-957-1037. We got about 10, 12 minutes left if anybody wants to jump in here. Anything on that, James? Or I'm going to move on to the follow your bliss part of this, because like I've always said, the encapsulation, I'm not going to talk. I'll start after you've got anything to add.
Just, I love that last part there, because to me, it feels like the energy aspect of it being throughout the universe and everywhere and everything. I feel that. And this next part is just my own feelings on things. I do believe, and I do feel like there are other consciousness out there that are not the same as us and are not always physical. But I also don't think of them as being, there being one that is in charge of everything, or even one that is in charge of all good and one that is in charge of all bad. And this is just my thinking, but I have noticed, just because of all the experiences and everything and things I've read, there do seem to be, at least for a lot of people out there, other beings. And yet we are all still in this universe. So it's really, to me, it makes me think of this idea of there being many, but also just one. And where do we separate those two, or can we, or are they both at the same time? That's my questions to basically his response there.
Yeah, a lot of ways to take that. I see a Chef Pete. Give me just 1 second here. I'm going to play just a little bit from the Follow Your Bliss, because this is the most important part of this. As I was saying there, is that when I try and encapsulate the idea of the hero's journey into my own space, into my own personality, into my own mind, the question becomes how? And what does this look like? And how can we personify this, not just individually, but as a society, as a group, as just a group here? And again, of course, Mr. Campbell, Dr. Campbell has an answer. Check this out.
I came to this idea of bliss because in Sanskrit, which is the great spiritual language of the world, and they know all about it, and have known about it for a long time, the transcendent is transcendent. But there are three terms that bring you to the brink. You might say the jumping off place to the ocean. And the three terms are Sat, Chit, Ananda. And Sat, the word Sat means being. Chit means full consciousness. And Ananda means rapture.
Being, full consciousness, rapture. Just to break that down.
So I thought, I don't know whether my consciousness is full consciousness or not. I don't know whether my being is proper being or not, but I do know where my rapture is. So let me hang on to rapture, and that'll bring me both being and full consciousness, and it works.
What was your rapture?
Well, it started with Indians, and then it went on into more and more mythological matters and the realm of the arts, music, and when I met Gene, then the dance came in, and this is it. Just stay with that.
And one doesn't have to be a poet to do this. Carpenters do it.
A poet is simply one who's made a profession and a lifestyle of being in touch with that.
Okay, I'll kill it there. And shout out Theo, the official poet of Troubled Minds. And so back to Follow Your Bliss in a second here. But you see what he's saying, right? Like he recognized it, and you know it too. It's like the conspiracy theory mind is like, you've seen the trope, the meme, where it's like, me during history class, you're asleep, you're not even listening. Me, sort of searching history on your own, you're like, the Always Sunny in Philadelphia with making the connections on the board and all the things, right? So suddenly, like, it doesn't necessarily mean history is uninteresting to you. The way it was taught to you is uninteresting, because of course, don't forget that all of our education is baked in narratives, and some of it should be. We shouldn't forget things like World War II. We shouldn't forget these things. However, there's some narratives that are cooked into those education cycles that are modern propaganda. And so that's why, in large part, we tune out. Not everybody, but there's a, there's a good way to teach history, and there's a crappy way to teach history. We've all seen it. If I actually did a history class, would you guys be interested? Right? Because I go through some old books and be like, here's some really interesting things about it, and then then kind of fill out the context a little bit, and then we talk about it, about really wild stuff, because there's a ton of wild stuff in history. Some things that light your mind on fire. But then there's also the propaganda cycles. Anyway, I digress. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Let's go to Pete. Pete in Georgia. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Thanks for staying up late with us. Go right ahead. Test 1 2. I do not hear you. Are you there? Nothing. If you didn't, unmute. If you didn't update Discord, that may be it. If you want to do a quick update and come back, that may fix it. It's literally been the bugaboo of my life doing this show forever, and they update nearly daily. So if you haven't updated today, it's probably it. If you want to update and come back, I'll hold the space for you. And yep, there you go. We'll talk to Pete in a second. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not a history teacher. I'm a history buff, but I think there are interesting ways to do these things that will sort of light the fire in the minds of people we're trying to teach. I don't know. Like I said, there's one. I've said this before in the past. There's a math teacher that changed my life. Not just math, but I thought I was a math dummy because I had a punitive math teacher. She was think of the worst word you can say about an individual. She was one of those, and she would try and embarrass me in front of everybody because she knew I didn't get it. However, there's some larger aspect to that I was saved a little later by a teacher named Mr. Hunter in geometry that showed me there's a better way to do this and a better way to teach and also a better way to learn. And then it restored my faith in myself as a young person. Back to those hero journey aspects. Hang tight, APOC. We're going to go to APOC in a second here. We got Chef Pete, who's probably updated Discord. What's up, Chef Pete? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
It's better.
Loud and clear. What's up, man? Thanks for staying up. Go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
Glad to be here. I have an interesting. That was an interesting tidbit from Mr. Campbell. Here's my thing, and I actually want to go back to the last video that you showed about the gods of good, evil, in between. Where are we all? And this is what I really think. What is it really? I don't know that any gods are really controlling any of us. I think that we have to control ourselves a little bit more. Of course, something is up above us is controlling the whole narrative. However, we can nudge it this way, nudge it that way, and kind of coexist a little bit better than what we're doing right now. And the hero's journey, what is our ultimate plan? I don't know that any of us will ever get there. It's ever evolving. I thought I was going to be one thing. Thought I was going to be a musician. Now I'm a chef. You know, it's ultimately it's how can you contribute to the world that we're in? And I think that if we all work on ourselves And if we all work on towards being better to each other, I think that we're going to be okay. But we just got to do that.
Yeah, so, sometimes we overcomplicate things, and being nice to each other is certainly one of the best ways forward we can choose as part of all of the options available, for sure. You're spot on.
I mean, I know there's one region of the world that's been warring since the world's been here, and that's never going to reach a resolvement, unfortunately, because it's been ingrained in them for generations and generations. But for the Western, for our world, for our hemisphere, there's no reason why we can't do that. And I just think that, with all of the technology and all the things that are advancing so quickly, we all need to come together and figure out a way to put some things aside and maybe make some. Each government makes a faction that doesn't really answer to their larger governments and really focuses on the science of things and focuses on humankind. I think that would be a big step in the right direction.
Exactly right. Exactly right. But again, these cycles that we didn't create, that are controlling us at every turn, these are the things we need to reject entirely. Again, sort of binary propositions where there's no third answer. There's no fourth answer. There's no fourth way. Shout out our friend on X there, the fourth way. He was on the show here. But I mean, that's the point. So recognize when we're being had. And if there's only this or that, trust me, you're being had. In a world of infinite possibilities, it's either this or that. Stop it, guys. Stop it. And look, we will gladly fight over these things. We will gladly, dare I suggest, kill over these things, as has been done recently and also throughout history. It's horrific.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's a this and that, and then there's an us together as a world being. And I think that we as a world have to focus more on that as opposed to this and that. We have to focus on that third option of how can we sustain ourselves ultimately.
Which is a fantastic question. And for us to keep on top of mind as the world turns, as they say. I think that's incredibly important and very poignant. What else you got? Thanks for staying up late. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's really all I had. I just wanted to call in because I thought that last piece really got to me. And, the hero's journey, who is the hero? We all are, in our own specific way. And you know what? If you want to be the president of the United States and you become a baker, well, you know what? You're providing bread to whoever may need it. And if you become a accountant, then you're providing needs to some other people. So no matter what you do, if you're, whatever you may do, you're providing a service to somebody who needs you. So don't ever think that whatever you're doing is not good enough, because somebody relies on that. And maybe it's not what your view of what your destiny should be, but at the end of the day, you're making the world a better place. And you just gotta be positive and love each other and help each other, and we'll get along just fine.
Amen, brother. And we're proving we can do it here. Again, we got religious types, we got non-religious types, we got esoterics, we got futurists. So many people in one space able to come together and agree and disagree and still press forward with love and peace and understanding. That's what it's all about. And what you're describing there, by the way, is the invisible process, is what I've always called it. Shout out Joe in Florida. People pass away. There are people that process that transaction here on Earth. Joe's a funeral director. Shout out to Night Stalker. Staying up late overnight, stocking the grocery stores, as you're describing. As you very well know, a chef wakes up very early to make sure all the stuff is cooked and prepped and all the stuff. You're up at 4 a.m, as you said, to do all the work that needs to be done for breakfast or whatever. These are the types of sacrifices that happen on a daily basis in society as part of the invisible process that we all take for granted. And you, my friend, are certainly a part of that. Our truck drivers, shout out. Everybody out there doing the work that never gets any credit deserves more credit than they get. And that's my thought on that.
Yeah, big up to the people in the medical field. They're up 24 hours a day. You know, maybe it's not your ideal potential or your ideal hero quest, but you know what? To somebody, you are. And that's what matters.
Amen. Absolutely well said. Thanks for staying up late with us. Thanks for calling. Always a pleasure, brother.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a great night.
Always a pleasure, man.
Thank you. You too.
You as well.
Chef Pete on the Discord. Join the Discord if you have not. Come meet these amazing people. They're active on the Discord and clearly calling in and just talking about wild ideas by dark of night. And again, recognize that some of the most sublime ideas come from some of the most innocuous spaces, meaning the invisible process. We're all part of it. And we all, dare I suggest, don't get the credit we deserve. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubleminds.org. Go to APOC, somewhere in the Midwest.
Hello?
Good evening. How are you?
Can you hear me? Oh, shoot. I wasn't muted. You might have heard other things like my dogs.
No. Oh, I thought that was Pete's dog. No, we're good.
I did too, actually, but mine were me.
That's funny. That's funny. You're fine. It was only once and it was very quiet. You're good. Welcome to the joint. Go right ahead.
Okay. So the question of, I grew up in a religious science church. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but Ernest Holmes was a philosopher, basically. And so this guy that you're talking about is somewhat similar in how he's communicating, I think, as Ernest Holmes was. But I sort of grew up with the idea of an impersonal process of nature, And I don't know about the devil and the angel on the shoulders, didn't grow up with that, but this is something that's kind of been on my mind lately, is that, there's a lot going on in the world that I have absolutely nothing to do with, I don't know about. And there are so many levels, I'm sure, and layers of existence and what happens, other than my little part of it, that I don't understand. But philosophically, what it feels like is that people put this idea of decision making, of judgment, of either locking in or I don't know, the way people do things in attempting to put control on the things around them, I suppose. I'm trying to figure out how to say this. But in nature, as God, quote unquote, I'm quoting, the silent quote marks in
like
the air.
Small g God, right? Small g.
No, just big G, but whatever you want to call it, whatever you think that is. Okay. Big G would be the internal workings of everything that exists in and out of everything else. So no matter whether you're in one dimension or multiple dimensions, you're going to have a large existence of something, right? That is all of those things. So it's like all of those things are working within a thing, maybe. See, I don't even know this, but this is what it seems like. If God exists, then God is all things. And if God is all things, then the foundation for the systems that work in nature is cyclical, evolutionary, and designed to evolve, right? Because if God is everything and everything that exists is God or within God, then what we have is something that works in a way that's designed to support the growth or evolution of God itself in a way. And that's my take. That might not be everybody else's take. Somebody else's take might be, well, God is just there to experience God, or we're just here to experience what we're doing. And if we're part of God, okay, great. And if God exists or doesn't exist, okay, great. But I'm in the big picture, my big picture of this stuff, nature would be God. And so if things are happening in a natural way, and I have two takes on this, and let's say we on one side are attempting to control part of it. And in doing so, we're taking the reins on part of God's job, I guess, on part of, and I'm in quotes the whole time I'm doing this, then we're attempting to take the reins of something that we know the surface, and this comes from what he was saying in the talk, the surface stuff. It's like if we can see something, maybe it is possible to see everything of that one thing. But I think how we make decisions as human beings is that we have sort of this subset, this microcosm of information that we get from our experiences and the people we meet, etc. And we're doing this thing to and I don't even know, what we're doing when we exchange, having conversation, whatever. Everybody's got their own reason, I'm sure, for saying and doing what they say, but we take only the microcosm, the points that we can see, and we take action or make assessments or judgments or whatever based on that. And if it were a natural process or a God supported process or a core God process, if it were that part, what is it, macrocosm that I was stating, then wouldn't it be that if someone were taking that action on as a Godhead, so to speak, then would they not be able to completely access everything that human being is? And not only that, every person that human being has touched, not only that, but every experience that person has affected, not only that, but how in the future and the past that's going to work and has worked, blah, blah, blah. Because that would be the essence of God, which would be everything, right? And nothing. Because there wouldn't be a place or a thing that God would or would not be. So I think sometimes what I'm looking at are the systems as human beings that we've created, like the educational system, like the whatever, the things that are supposed to support the masses or support the large groups or whatever of people. And we're looking, and even the smaller experiences and exchanges of people, of course. But I think because the Godhead support system isn't clearly defined, then are we not attempting to move via instinct and move via God's self and embody that, like knowing that that everything is as it should be in one respect or another? Or are we going to attempt to control the stuff, which in a way, controlling our stuff,
right?
Doing our stuff is, that allows for us to live in a linear fashion and make sense of things, right? But if we're attempting to control other person's stuff, then
which becomes the thing that becomes the actual thing.
Yeah.
Let me go back to what you said before I forget it. So okay. Something stuck in my brain when you said this. So why do we talk to each other, and why we get different things out of it and all the rest of it. And back to storytelling and back to myth, right? So even if our lived experience can't encapsulate ways for us to see the world in a different way, we can say Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, you see? Like, I've never been to Alderaan and learned the ways of the Force. However, when I say these things, you understand them, and everybody that's kind of seen any part of Star Wars understands them. And so that becomes really that, again, back to what Brian Johnson said, that storytelling is the most advanced technology for exactly that reason. So we don't necessarily have to have a lived experience. It could be based on our lived experience, but also the storytelling aspect of it, the metaphor, the parables, and all the things that come with it allow us to communicate more effectively without necessarily having done it, but also having experienced a part of it in in our granular method of life that resonates with it. You see? So it's like, it's a way of communication is all it really becomes. And I just wanted to say that because you made that little thing there and then turned the corner 3 different times and went left and right and up. I just wanted to make sure I got that in because it was very important in my mind. I had to get it out, but yeah, what else you got? Go ahead.
Okay, I don't even know what I said to inspire what you just said, but what you said was great. So yeah, I think that's part of the microcosm, right? The metaphor, the having a shared knowledge base. We have shared knowledge bases that help us communicate and enrich our lives in so many ways. In multiple layers, I'm sure, but what I guess I'm saying is the confusion. I'm not even going to say that because I don't know that to be true, but the shifting of the idea of the actual Godhead to the microcosm of that shared experience. I think some people have the experience of thinking or knowing that, and I say knowing because for them it might be true. I'm not trying to judge things here, but it's all metaphor in a way, right? Because we can't have the actual experience. We're extracting things from our past and pulling things from the philosophical future of our ideas, right? So when we're communicating right now, that's what we're doing. We're taking those multitudes of things from who we are and what we've experienced to present them now in this space of shared communication. So
that's Pete's dog again.
Huh?
That's Pete's dog again.
Yeah, it's fine.
And Pete's not even on the call.
But I think in some ways, if we're creating a system, we're creating a Godhead. If we're creating an idea that's for the masses or for groups of people, we're creating a Godhead in sort of a blanket or a cover or an idea or a philosophy that's attempting to cover all the bases. When you look at most of the systems, most of them are flawed in some way or another, and certainly do not create a full. Okay, and here's where we get to the idea of
a full cycle.
Impersonal.
They don't create a full cycle intentionally.
Well, it's also impersonal, but I think the Godhead would not be impersonal. We say that the Godhead would be impersonal. We say that the working of God would be impersonal, but I'm saying if you get more defined with it, if you become fractalized in the microcosm, I think that it would be incredibly personal. Because in order for things to work in the microcosm, there has to be that microcosmic intelligence, that intelligence of all that being or that cell or that whatever actually is, in order to create the best, in order to create the most effective or the most prolific outcome for growth. in one way or another, whatever, however that needs to happen. But again, this is of course coming from the things that are strong inside my mind about what I think or feel is important. And so I'm not sure anyone else would even share these thoughts, but I think that it's interesting to talk about.
Sounds like you're good. You're good. You're good. Fire stuff. Just before we move on and before you go, Hiker over there says, I love hearing APOC's calls again. So welcome back. Definitely glad to have you back. Give her a follow, and Hiker linked it over on Rumble, apocalypsetau.wordpress.com. APOC, you're the best. Appreciate the call. Unless you got anything else,
I do have a writing if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Weirdly enough, I actually wrote this right before I started listening to the show, about an hour and a half before, I think. So I'm going to be all scattered, and I probably won't read it well because I have not actually read anything for a long time. But this is the first time that I have read and actually liked what I wrote. It's the first time that I have written and actually liked what I have written in a very long time. Hope that made more sense.
We're ready for it, and we will like it too, I'm sure.
Clearing the mind space, a conglomeration of uninvented, unnamed sky streaks and machines that from seed to sky conclude a project of sensory things, blobs and patterns, blue, pink, orange, all of this here to inspire, exist to be threads of things. We can pick up with thumb and forefinger as webs from some giant, sprightly spider, lines as webs rigged from standing poles of trees, cut and lunged into the ground, more delicately placed to seem invasive, as connection becomes seemingly more complete, seemingly yet itself, always distant as a standing stone. As orange and pink clouds connect with neon-painted mortar and brick, chilies dipped in black, ever more present, ever more obvious, with background sky fading, darkening with dips and chips, and the pronounced road. It should be hovercraft machines pouring air onto poured stones, the sound from weight and physics, from man and nature stepping back as I follow her there, maybe to hold hands with both.
God damn. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I like that. I'm pretty sure everybody else like that. And keep writing, keep dreaming, keep thinking. You got a hell of a mind on you. By the way, also over on Rumble, shout out to Puff says APOC is awesome. She has good calls on old episodes. So welcome back. We're glad to have you back. Thanks for considering the ideas. Thanks for being cool and chill. Thanks for sharing the art you're creating, and we look forward to more.
I appreciate it, and I'll call when I can. I'm still doing, weird stuff, so I'll be random.
As are we are. We're looking forward to it. Always a pleasure.
Okay.
Have a great night. Appreciate the call.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
apocalypsetau.wordpress.com, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. APOC is the beginning of the alphabet. She'll be right on top. troubledminds.org/friends, and go give her a follow in all the places. And that's why we do this. Again, to look at things differently, to see the world differently, and to inspire and to create. That's it right there. Top right there. troubledminds.org. Third one over, APOC. Go give her a follow on all the places. Check out her music. Check out the things she's writing. Check out the things she's dreaming of, and all the rest. James, hang tight. I'm going to play the rest of this because we're almost at the end of this hidden dimension bit of the follow your bliss, and then you get the final word. Thank you to APOC for the call there. And we're going to go late because we started late. So, right. So we're kind of in that pocket right now where the show would normally be ending. So we're going to go a little bit late. So thanks for staying up late with us. And this is, again, Joseph Campbell and again, give them all the love, the Joseph Campbell Foundation. Please follow them in all the places. I just subscribed to their channel as well. You should. And just go listen to what this man says. And like I said, think about it in fractals. Think about it in things that make sense to you, because that's all we've got, right? Until we grow and we grow and we grow and we grow together. And then suddenly it doesn't have to be so personal and fractal. It could be societal. Back to Joseph Campbell.
Most people have to be concerned with other things. They get themselves involved in economic and other activities, or you're drafted into a war that isn't the one you're interested in. And how to hold to this umbilical, you might say, in those circumstances, that's a technique each one has to work out for himself somehow. But most people living in that realm of what might be called occasional concerns, they all have the capacity that's waiting to be awakened to move to this other place. I know it. I've seen it happen in students. Wonderful way of teaching we had at Sarah Lawrence, where I taught for 38 years. I'd have an individual conference with every one of my students at least once a fortnight for half an hour or so. And there you're talking on about the things that students ought to be reading, and suddenly you hit on something that the student really responds to. You can see the eyes open, the complexion changes, life possibility has opened there. And all you can say to yourself is, I hope this child hangs on to that, you know. So they may or may not. But when they do, they've found a life right there in the room with you.
How would you advise somebody to tap that spring of eternal life, that joy that is right there?
Well, we're having experiences all the time, which may, on occasion, render some sense of this, a little intuition of where your joy is. Grab it. No one can tell you what it's going to be. I mean, you've got to learn to recognize your own depths.
Do you ever have this sense when you're following your bliss, as I have at moments, of being helped by hidden hands?
Just a real quick shout out, Night Stalker. So this is the synchronicity aspect of it. And he directly asked the question, do you think that there is something out there guiding you to that bliss, to that space, to the thing that you know you are here for? It interests you. It calls you. Check the answer. This is wild. And then we'll wrap this down after this. It's just about the end.
All the time. It's miraculous. I even have a superstition that has grown on me as the result of invisible hands coming all the time. Namely, that if you do follow your bliss, you put yourself on a kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you. And the life that you ought to be living is the one you're living somehow. And when you can see it, you begin to deal with people who are in the field of your bliss, and they open doors to you. I say follow your bliss and don't be afraid, and doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be.
Do you ever have sympathy for the man who has no invisible means of support?
There's no invisible means. Yes, he's the one that evokes compassion, you know, the poor chap. And to see him stumbling around when the water of immortal life is right there is really, it evokes one's pity.
Right there? Right there? You believe that?
Yes.
The waters of eternal life?
Right there.
Where?
Wherever you are. If you're following your bliss. I mean, you're having that joy, that refreshment, that life all the time.
That's the great Joseph Campbell, rest in peace. And I think he figured out a lot. And so it's up to us. And the reason I'm talking about it tonight, and the reason I wanted to talk about those things, I meticulously went through and clipped out all the audio from that, and I wasn't able to do it. So we just did it old school style and just played the YouTube. It worked out well enough, but you get what he's saying. He's recognizing the patterns within us and the patterns without us, and where we fit in those spaces and what they mean to us in the most primal sense. That's what this is all about. James, Thanks for being patient, my man. What else you got on anything anybody else said, or if you got any other ideas or something you want to share? Welcome back to the thing, and all yours for a final word.
Sounds to me a lot like that call and that bliss may be the same thing. We just don't know it at first until we hear that call or feel that call, and until we're able to answer it somehow. It's just what came to mind. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's the way it seems. I feel like it seems accurate, at least in my case. And again, I don't like to talk about me. That's the funny thing in a way. Anyone that knows me is aware of that. But some things, they just do resonate, and that's one of them.
Yeah, chase it, follow it, whatever that is. And there is, synchronistically, as he asked the question, right? There seems to be a reason for that, for these things, for these whatever mysteries you're drawn to, or not. Let's say you're not drawn to mysteries at all. You're drawn to the mysteries of science and pressing that forward. Remember, those two things don't have to exist in different spaces. The mysteries of science undiscovered is the same as the mysteries we're talking about on Troubled Minds. That's what it's all about. That's literally what it's all about. Yeah. Anything else, James? I'm going to play the outro music and roll this. Or if you got anything else, not to cut you short, I want to make sure you had something you wanted to add. If we had time, we have time.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just I do think learning and sort of forgiving ourselves, or at least understanding why we did things, I think is important. So I mentioned way earlier that I've had things I've done here and there that I regretted, and one of those things is at one point I had a friend from school who was also legally blind, but he also had some learning and other factors, other things. He was not able to get a job. He was basically permanently disabled, I would say, mentally. And I'm trying to think of like the nicest way to say this, because I don't mean this anyway as a put down. But I just, over time, whenever we talk, nothing was ever changing with him. And I felt so bad. And at one point, I ended up changing phone numbers, and I forgot at the time to get his number off of my old device and put it on my new device. And I just did not try to get to that number again, and never talked to them again. And I don't know where that number is. This was a good 20 years ago now, almost, maybe more, around there. And so I was fairly young still at the time compared to where I am now. And so years later, every so often, not so much now, I wonder if that's because I've kind of just realized, well, I don't want to make the mistake again. I've had dreams of being in his house, but everything is always dark. There's no lights on. And I feel like there's a presence or presences in there, but I never come across anyone, but I'm always afraid that I'm going to. And I know it's a dream. I'm not calling this paranormal in any way. But also because of just my mind, the way it works, it felt pretty vivid still. And so I've had this dream, or variations of it, a few times over the years, and I figured out why, and so now I just do my best never to do that again, and I've learned from that.
Yeah, so some of the things we do when we're young, flippantly, are and not the best. And there's people that do rely on us. Take it seriously, because those people out there definitely need us. I would suggest, James, again, just kind of a random shot in the dark. See if you can find him again. Maybe there is a way. Like phone books and stuff like that exist. So I mean, in 2025, did he use Facebook, or maybe not, or I don't know. Just saying. Like there may be some ways. Maybe you can rekindle old things and sort of heal old wounds and catch up on old times. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing.
Well, I think if I can help anyone by sharing anything, then that's why I want to do it. And there's one other real quick thing I was thinking about how, it's amazing. And sometimes it's amazing how people hear about some stories and never hear about other stories of mythology or modern fiction. And I was thinking, that's a good thing. If we all knew all the stories, then there'd be no need or no interest to tell any of them again, because we would all know them all. And I wonder if that's part of why we only have so much room in our minds, our brains, for things at times. If there's some of those invisible hands that who knows who or what they are, but they help us find the ones that we need over time.
Well said. Well said. You were the best. Thanks again for sitting in. All of you, thanks for bearing with me as I go through it's a hiatus. It's not a dark night of the soul or anything. I'm working on some other things and learning about vibe coding and, creating some projects and all the rest. So, which do fit into the show, as you saw some of the news stuff we've been doing. So, the news, thank you for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network. Let's check the news, right? But there's more projects coming. Some related, some unrelated. Hey, look. Basically this. Follow James. SalcidoParanormal.com, SALSIDO, space paranormal, or not space, SalcidoParanormal.com, because there's no space in URLs. TroubledMinds.org/friends, scroll down, follow James. He's got a link tree. Go buy his books, go listen to his podcast, go join the Discord, go hang out, go spread the word on all of the things that are happening with James and with this community, because that's what this is about. Like I said, this is a human space. We use technology to create a larger human space. You get it? It's very simple. But sometimes, right, like you tap dance on a nerve or whatever and talk about the Christ consciousness instead of Jesus or whatever. And some people are like, yeah, cool. And some people are like, no, hell no. Fine, whatever. But recognize, we don't tell you who to vote for. Recognize, we don't chase down the narratives they want us to talk about and they want us to think about. Recognize, if there's an A and a B, we are not even close to C, D, E, F, G. We are like way down the alphabet, considering these ideas that they want us to forget. Go check out the Joseph Campbell Foundation. Again, links will be in the description. Check it out. Go follow their YouTube channel. At the very least, it's free, completely free. It's just like it sounds, Joseph Campbell Foundation. It's Joseph, SEPH. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this dude inspires the hell out of me. So what's next? This is the question I have in my mind, and we'll get back to this at some point. Carl Jung, the archetypes of Carl Jung. Joseph Campbell and the larger contextual hero's journey. What's next in 2025? Who has the mind to take the next step in the ever-encroaching AI space of robots and beyond? Is it us? I feel like it's us. But also, I think when you tempt destiny and suggest that you are part of it, I think you're doing it wrong. As I said, history decides those things, not us. But also, we know that history plays a dirty trick by censoring fantastic ideas. Keep thinking, keep dreaming, keep recognizing there are narratives out there that are outside the political space. And that's it. That's that. It's as simple as that. Shout out Puff over there on Rumble. Thank you for the kind and generous tip. Love from the Rumble crew. Love back. Oh, by the way, I do this once in a while. I do like the devil signs, like on the show, right? And I want to also clarify, it's an ironic thing. It's if you're Gen X or you ever watch Beavis and Butthead, they used to do like the devil thing and they go breaking the law. It doesn't mean I'm Illuminati, all right? Nobody's accused me of this, but I know eventually somebody will, okay? So recognize there are ironic things that happen in the world around us that absolutely mean nothing other than us laughing at ourselves. Simple as that. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll be back to full-time Thursday-ish, so I'm going to go, we'll take Tuesday off. Thursday, we'll be there, and then we'll get back to full time because it's Halloween season. Yeah, we got to talk spooky stuff. It's spooky season. We'll be doing more of that. Have more of James on and all the rest of your calls as well. You're the best, James. Thanks for being here, and all the rest of you guys.